those
Nice.
lines.
Okay, that was good. So a more correct answer did exist in your mind. You just decided to say the retarded one. That's fine.
Republican politics has always been primed.
You know that's
for
not
cult
true about
members.
George
One
Bush,
reason
right?
why-
That's not even remotely true. What
I dedicate 5% of my media time talking about it.
was
You
I
dedicate,
asking
like,
about
60
your
or 70.
coverage directly? Did I ask
No,
what would
but
it
to
take? Wait, you
enter
don't want to get into
into
that
this
bullshit.
community.
You mean the stuff that people like Hassan explicitly and constantly spread, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the fight you're participating in, and that's why.
Well, wait. Do you think
try
I
to
want
make
it? Do you think
sure-
that's the fight I want to participate in?
No, that's why I started.
So now you're giving me an example of you giving a lib left take, and you're an example of the far left harassing you out of that take, and then you changed your take without even seeing any evidence.
He said he would vote for Stevens. It seems like something you should know.
It seems
You're
like
a
something
pretty
I
big
should
political
know,
commentator.
and you've been critical of me not covering these primaries until the last minute, right?
Yeah, and this is.
Then
this
can
is
you tell
why
me if I
said
should
that,
know
'cause you
this?
don't really know.
Can you tell me why you got it wrong then, and you had to be called out on other people? Because you said that you yourself also had this belief, and you said you cover this far more than me, but you had to get called out on Twitter to change your mind on it. So why didn't you know?
Destiny, you made a tweet a few days ago, and I'm going to read it back to you, and I wonder if you stand by what you said. In a quote tweet to our interlocutor Jolah here, you say this: "Okay, never mind. I think this person is an op, lol. Every single message and statement is literally the exact perfect thing that libs need to do to get eaten alive by the far left." I'm wondering, I guess just to start off, do you stand by that statement, or was it just kind of made in jest?
No, I stand by it.
Okay, what makes you think that Jolah here is an op? And what is an op in your mind? What is he doing that you find to be
Like if I were to
cringeworthy
think of
or-
like I need to insert like a lib-friendly person to slowly siphon more people off further and further left, like what are the strategies that I would want this person to engage in? So you have to do a little bit of like mudslinging at the left to earn some credit. You have to do a little bit of support from your moderate Dems to earn some credit. But by and large, you're engaging in the same types of lies and misinformation about your moderate Dems. You're never really attacking your further left people that hard. You're always like explicitly endorsing and supporting the further left people. And then you're constantly trying to hand wring or fearmonger or tone police people that are being critical of further left people. Like that would be like the ideal
Fair enough.
plant, I guess I would say.
Well,
And I feel
Jolah,
like
how do you respond to the allegations? I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead.
I would say that recently, for issues that are kind of connected, kind of disconnected, and I am not talking about the personal issues that Destiny has with these online communities when I talk about this, but I do believe there is some sort of radicalization here where you have Peace Goes, anti-Semitic now, soy pills, a socialist sweeper, Josiah is completely just disconnecting from all of DGG. DGG, and it's just like it's at the point where you need to have some contact to other communities to influence them, and it's very concerning to me that Destiny has no confidence in the ability for liberals to do what he's describing the left does to liberals, but for liberals to do that to the left. And I'm somebody, which I don't blame anybody for not knowing my entire track record or anything, because I'm not very big on YouTube or in general, but I have criticized Hassan Piker heavily, for example, about being pro-Russia, attacking Crimea, saying they're ethnic Russians, repeating blatant Russian propaganda, doing propaganda for Mao and the Chinese government. So I have all these similar criticisms, but like individuals like Adam Mockler, I understand the pragmatic solution to build my coalition and to move Democrats in a better direction. And I think that's the primary disagreement that we're going to be having here.
Okay, you got a response to that, Destiny, or?
I guess there was one part of that I didn't understand where you said that I don't trust liberals to do the same thing that DSA types are doing to liberals. But could you expand on that statement? I don't understand that.
So I remember back when Adam Mockler spoke to. Am I still connected? You guys just okay. We're all good. Back when Adam Mockler spoke to Hassan, and some dumbasses in your community, which no offense to you, but I think you might have been upset as well. They were like, why is Adam Mockler not going hard on Hassan? Now, in my opinion, Adam Mockler is very intelligent. I think he's probably like the young LeBron James of liberal politics. I think many of us agree. He knows that in order to vie for influence in our coalitions, in a competitive coalition, which we need to operate, it's difficult, but we need to operate that. He needs to not go out and just be like, there's not going to be a big, you shocked your dog with the power of Zeus and you are terrorist and you are whatever. That's never going to happen. If anything, most of Hassan's fans, which you agreed with me a few weeks ago, when we chatted, or they see themselves as normie progressives. So when I see someone like Adam Mockler make that pragmatic decision to not go scorched earth with Hassan, I see very clearly the role he wants to play and the strategy he's using to get credibility with Hassan's fan base. So whenever there's a flashpoint, so whether it's an election or another big controversy or another October 7th or Ukraine or whatever it might be, then Adam Mockler has legitimacy with Hassan's audience, where he can be convincing to Hassan's audience and pull Hassan's viewers away from him way more effectively. Like, I think you have little to no impact in that arena. And people like Adam Mockler, Josiah, Pisco, you can argue they are good or bad at it, but I think that is the role they are trying to play, and myself as well. But your community assumes all of us are either useful idiots or, you don't think we can be effective in doing the reverse of what socialists do to your community.
So the reason why I would say that they can't do the reverse is because you won't let that happen. So there's two easy questions that I can ask you. So the first one is, if Adam's fans watched the conversation that Adam had with Hassan, and if Hassan's fans watched the conversation that Adam had with Hassan, who's more likely to be pulled in the other direction?
I believe that in the real world.
No. I'm just saying in general, fans of these people, not like in the real world on CNN. I'm just saying
more towards Adam Mockler for sure.
Okay, I think you're 100% wrong.
And have confidence in liberals. You don't. That's the issue here.
No,
you want to act like we lost already to DSA. I don't agree.
Okay, is that what you think I'm going to say? I'm going to say I have no confidence in liberals. What do you think I'm going to say?
No, you'll probably say that we have liberals go on these shows. They are not antagonistic. Meanwhile, the left can be antagonistic towards us as much as they want and have endless charitability. And when we do the opposite, they just shun us. I assume you're going to say something along those lines.
Nice. Okay, that was good. So a more correct answer did exist in your mind. You just decided to say the retarded one. That's fine. So Hassan has prepared that conversation. Hassan does not openly and blatantly attack people who are friendly-ish towards him. He's very explicit and very clear to that in his audience when he says things like, I think Brian messed up here deleting this tweet, guys. Like, I think that, but he's not an enemy, guys, right? But for people like Hutch or like Lonerbox, he signals these people are full-on enemies. You agree that Hassan does that signaling very explicitly, right? Or do you? Or do you
100%.
not? Okay. So in a conversation where Hassan has already signaled to his whole audience who Adam Mockler is and, how to treat Adam Mockler, and when Hassan is the one trying to control the pace of that conversation, which he did halfway through, he was like, bro, why are you trying to debate me so much? I don't see how a Hassan fan watching Mockler is going to come away thinking like, man, this Adam guy made a lot of really good points. Like, they already know all the points that Adam's going to make. Hassan does a huge engagement already with like lib-left media. His fans already know all of those people and all those arguments. Adam Mockler's fans might not have dipped in as much to the far-left Hassan types, but it's not like Adam Mockler's position in that debate was significantly removed from the positions that he actually has. But Hassan was made a lot more palatable in that debate than he would be watching terrorist attacks and cheering them on Twitch. That's why I would say that in that conversation, a neutral Mockler fan would be more likely to have a much more favorable view of Hassan coming out than like a neutral Hassan fan who basically already knows what Adam Mockler is all about.
Out of curiosity to Destiny, sure. just real quick, out of curiosity to Destiny, what is there anything that Mockler could have done in that conversation to change that dynamic for you, right? Like,
I mean, it depends on what Mockler's views are, and it depends on what he's trying to accomplish with his audience. But I mean, I would want to fixate on some differences because there are beliefs that I think Hassan has that are beyond the pale for what I would want in my political party, and I wouldn't want my audience to be falling into those types of, I guess, I don't know if you call them radicalization traps or whatever else, but I wouldn't want my audience to like think that I'm supportive of that.
That's fair. Sure. You had something to say, Jolah? I just wanted to ask that question before you went through.
Yeah, so it's very important to distinguish what are we using to measure our units of success. So this can be, online followers. It can be a media environment that we're influencing. It can be a vote total. So for Adam Mockler, I believe that litmus tests that reside in demands that result in real world changes. So vote blue no matter who, for example, I think is a huge tool for liberals, which my response to you initially.
Well, wait, real quick, just going back, do we disagree with my take on how I view the neutral Mockler fan and the neutral Hassan fan viewing like that debate? Because that was my reason why I would feel
context. Yeah, I agree in an online context, but this is where I have no confidence in Hassan's politics to survive outside of the internet. So when I talk about flashpoints and vote blue no matter who, when there's another big election and Hassan is a little bitch baby about like not endorsing someone, I need Adam Mockler there, at least, you know, somewhat palatable to like Hassan's fan base, to be the guy being like super rah vote Democrat. And you know, Keith Edwards, he sounded like a dumbass in that other conversation from a week or two ago, but he was a cheerleader for voting for Kamala Harris. So far lefties that followed Hassan versus Keith Edwards, I would rather far lefties follow Keith Edwards for the overall pragmatic consequence or outcomes of overall votes moving towards the Democrats' direction. So I think Adam Mockler, there's more concrete demands that Adam would make with his content, and it's more actionable, where Hassan will fade into obscurity the moment that DSA, the moment like moderate Dems have good candidates against the DSA types.
Sure. So then the second question, because I said we'd have two questions regarding that. Well, so the first was the performance, where I feel like a neutral viewer of both fans is going to be more pulled towards Hassan afterwards. They're going to get a more palatable view of Hassan. The second question I would ask is, have you ever in your entire life seen any of these lib-left people that have been cozying up to these weirdo commie types? Have they ever like been able to call them out on their platforms to hold them accountable for anything? Can we think of a single example of this ever happening ever? Now
that's where, I mean, I would. Here's probably the issue you have with the other creators I mentioned. At the
wait, hold on. You can answer and then give me your longer answer. But I was just, do you think has that ever happened ever? And then you can give your longer answer. But I'm curious, have you ever seen that happening ever?
No, recently there's been kids gloves in independent media for people like Hassan.
So it did happen in the past? Or because you said recently, implying that in the past
it
was
a relatively new phenomenon. So
so it's never happened. Okay, and then go give me your longer answer.
Well, I could probably prepare if it never happened. I think that's where the real world consequences did smack the left back in the face, and the left can take a back seat when it comes to real life organizing and politics. And a lot of these DSA elections I view as flukes. So how transferable is Hassan's political movements into the real world? I would argue not very much, but Adam Mockler would be more effective in moving people his direction. Now, when we talk about how we approach these independent media platforms, if you see Pod Save America give Hassan an easy interview, and the portrayal, let's say someone from their fan base goes on your video, and I think you called him like a mindless, dumb fuck idiot, like that one guy, like John Favreau or something, because he was like cushioning the blow for the questions he was asking Hassan. If a Pod Save America fan goes on your channel, or if a Pod Save America, if one of them looks at your channel, they are very there's a very little likelihood they'd ever invite you on to their platform to have a alternative opinion. And when you are on platforms like the Bulwark, after you talk to Tim Miller, he was talking to Pete Buttigieg about tankies, and Americans don't even know what tankies means. I'm not sure if you were the main influence for Tim Miller talking about tankies, but that type of language is not transferable to real politics, and I just feel like there's better ways to attack it.
I don't know. Every part of that was meaningless. I don't know what that was even responsive to. When you talk about like Adam Mockler can have more reach in the real world because of the networks he's on in his messaging, I agree with that. Nothing about that requires him to cozy up to commies. He can do all of that without doing that. So I don't know what anything.
Is he cozying up to them, or just keeping the possibility for like coalition, like an off ramp from keeping.
Regardless of what he's doing, I'm just saying that if Adam Mockler never contacts far left communities, nothing changes about his reach at all. He doesn't go on to CNN or whatever to talk to Hassan's audience. He's not getting big new reach talking to Hassan's audience. All of those people probably know who he is anyway, but they're much, much, much further left. And then even when you're bringing up other people, you brought up that Keith Edwards guy, and you're like, he was a Kamala supporter. Yes, you can find these people, but I feel like sometimes people try to cite these as like, well, these guys are part of a broad coalition. But no, I think you're just finding a bunch of people who are more radicalized, who have been more moved down the pipeline because these systems are working. Like, yeah, he used to support Kamala. Now he's a fucking super DSA far lefty type. That Umish voter guy that everybody's so mad about or whatever, whether they're mad about the guy himself or mad about me for spotlighting it so much, that guy was also like a McMorrow supporter. It looked like, and if you dug more into his past, he seemed like he was a little bit more moderate. But like a lot of these people become super radicalized because of this one-way system we have where we can't really critique the far left that much because a whole bunch of people like you're going to say, well, I don't really think it's effective. And for the far left people, I don't know. It seems like they're gaining more popularity. It seems like it's working decently well for them.
Yeah, a question I had for you, Jolah, right? Because you mentioned that I tell me if this is mischaracterizing your argument, but you seem to be arguing that if we are mean to, or if we are too mean or cross the threshold of meanness towards people like John Favreau or other people we feel are running cover, right, for the left, that they will not come to our show and that it will limit our reach. Is there any conditions where we can be mean to these people, right? Like, is there a line that they can cross where it's now acceptable to be mean to Hassan or someone that is running cover for Hassan, like, say, I don't know, John Favreau or Pisco or Josiah or whoever, right?
I agree there are times to be mean, but I would not do anything that is terminating a possible relationship. So we're in a
Can you give me an
competitive
example of a
coalition.
time to be mean that would be okay to be mean in your
So
mind?
I might make a video about. I have a lot of Hassan and Destiny fans in my chat, and I have moved both of them, in my opinion, to the middle of like progressive and more like a pragmatic liberal sense. And the Hassan fans will come into my chat and talk about like, Hassan wanting healthcare and just being a normal progressive. And I'll say, buddy, I really don't think it's good to, be pro the authoritarian Chinese government. And you might think it's dumb to be that light on people, but it also keeps people's minds open. You could be stern and be direct about your criticisms of someone without calling someone, like if I'm working on a job with someone that I know I need to work with in the future. If I call them or their boss a dumb mother effer, lunatic piece of shit with a terrible family background and whatever, some things are going to be so beyond the pale that rhetoric is going to cut me off from ever having influence in that community.
This is totally non-responsive. If the conversation is just like, is there certain rhetoric that I engage in that's really radical and cuts me off from certain audiences, that like I would almost certainly grant that that's probably true. It's the way that I market myself online. I'm not saying that. Do you think that I'm saying that every single liberal needs to say that Hassan is a dog-shocking sex freak? Do you think that my criticism
your
of
audience?
Well, no, wait. We're not
getting
talking.
the
Are we
sense.
just talking about just my audience, or is this about like the broader like lib left discourse versus like socialist discourse?
That's the issue, is you talk about marketing yourself online. I'm talking about pragmatic action, and your audience does not follow pragmatic action, in my opinion, if they're going to be kicking out Pisco and Josiah. And even myself, someone who criticizes Hassan and the far left all the time. It's pretty ridiculous. It's not very conducive to coalition building. And this is a long battle of vying for influence in the Democratic Party between coalitions. That's why Vote Blue No Matter Who was so important, because that is the guiding principle. When it all comes down to it, like William Lawrence won in Michigan. He's a far left DSA Sunrise Movement candidate. He won because the field was split between two like more moderate candidates. He already, right when he won his primary, endorsed Hakeem Jeffries for the House. That signals to me that they are not seeking to destroy the Democratic Party. Anyone that is not seeking to destroy the party, who wants to compete aggressively within it and still move it forward, we need to be making some peace and working with them.
What does this have to do with the question that I asked?
Because, so if we have 100 Hassan viewers or 100 progressives or 100 members of DSA, DSA is largely going to be younger people. They have the ability to change over time, believe it or not. Many people want to join the DSA. I see DSA posts often saying, can you please join and help us moderate the DSA if you join? And you probably think that's a commie trap or whatever. But if you have 100 people who follow that kind of politics, and your message, are you seeking to influence anybody who's a member of the DSA to leave it, or are you just here to like yell about them and make people not join the DSA?
My goal is not to de-radicalize DSA members or like believers. No, that's not my goal. My goal is to strengthen liberal arguments and call out the further left stuff that's like growing and cannibalizing a part of the party. So my function that I see myself serving right now is strengthening the lib-left resistance against the infiltration from the far-left element. I'm not trying to de-radicalize DSA members.
Okay, I would argue that when I try to go into this, I'm trying to explain the thought process that someone like Josiah also shares. I think him and I are very aligned in this, where it's very complicated to orchestrate and to be a part of a competitive coalition like this, where you may say, if there's 100, more far left progressives, maybe your message can reach to 1 through 5 of them because of whatever reasons, because of the media landscape, because of your reputation, whatever that might be. But for Josiah and Pondering Politics, and he doesn't comment on, he's definitely not going to come out in the left moving forward. Let's say he can move 30 of them over or 60 of them over of that 100. So when we take these certain actions, it's not an attempt to be like snaky or whatever. It's an attempt to broaden your ability to influence different coalitions and to vie for influence in different coalitions in the Democratic Party, which is why I attack Cori Bush, who lost. She is such a a sore loser. She was in for one term. She got her ass kicked by Wesley Bell. She blamed AIPAC. She came back again this year. She's like, oh, AIPAC is off the table, blah, blah, blah. She lost by even more, I'm pretty sure, this election. I went super hard on Cory Bush, and I'll go super hard on Andrew Cuomo, because I just want, pragmatic elements to succeed in the Democratic Party. And I want everyone to know I can be a conduit to have that conversation, and in my own organizing. I'm not going to shut out someone for being far left, even if they are a 20-year-old dipshit that believes in like communism or whatever.
Okay,
no
that's
line?
fine, but so again, nothing you said was really like you don't have to shut out like 20-year-old commie DSA type people, especially people who are just followers of other content creators. What I'm saying, the big argument that I've had with people is that fundamentally you will never be able to compete against that other side when it comes to taking members. They're always going to be funneling more from you than you are from them if they have no rules and you're held to a very restrictive rule set for how you can respond to them. So for all the times you keep saying, well, my goal is to show them something better, my goal is to convert them, blah, 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 my answer to that is always, you're never getting an example, or you're never going to get an opportunity to do that. That's why I ask, like, can you think of a single example where Josiah or Peace Corps or anybody has been able to go onto breaking points or has been able to go onto any of these far left areas and call them out? And I know the answer to that is no, because I know how they operate, and they never will. That'll never, ever, ever happen. There will never be a time where Pisco or Josiah are having like a big argument, substantive argument with Kyle Kalinske or Crystal Ball. I'm 100% confident that will never happen. And you can say otherwise. Okay, then in that case, then all you're doing is facilitating an audience transfer to that further left area. Because what it looks like, and what the average person's perception that engages in these spaces looks like, is it looks like the left people who are me are like pragmatic, maybe left people, but like the better morally pure position is the further left position, which are like the Hassan type. That's like the impression. These guys are the ones who are like idealistic and they really want to do the best they can. And I guess sometimes we have to make these like dirty moderate deals if we're just trying to get some stuff done maybe, but like the better position are the further left people. And then that's reinforced by the fact that they can infinitely attack people to their right and then never really get attacked by people to their right. And that one-way transfer is just not possible. This is why I say there are no coalitions with people where the attacks are only one way.
My goal is to have Democrats beat Republicans, and also to have Democrats elect Democrats who are able to sustain powerful liberalism and to correct the faults in the system right now. So when we have the DSA, I do not agree. The way you speak about DSA, I would assume they are so powerful and subversive. They're in every corner of American politics. And you said about Keith Edwards and myself even, that's exactly what I would say if I was trying to subvert the party. Oh, don't worry about the DSA. They're tiny. They are tiny. I'm very confident we can overpower the DSA. I'm very confident Daria Eliza won't be around long. I'm very confident Francesca Hong won't be around long. All of our top leading Senate candidates, whether it's Turek in Iowa, whether it's Ossoff or Tallarico, the only one that's more further left is going to be El Sayed. And even he describes himself as a capitalist, and he's moderating. He's forcing the more socialist types to moderate on issues like Ukraine already, saying that it's conditional aid, and Ukraine fits those conditions, so we're going to help fund Ukraine. And Dylan Burns is a fantastic example of someone who is in it. He's in it with a lot of these progressive lefty types. Dylan Burns is the perfect example of someone that picks an issue like Ukraine and uses that as their key point, their driving point, to have a litmus test in the real world, not like, oh, do you think Hassan shot this dog? But in the real world, to have pragmatic political change. I just don't agree the DSA is that big and scary where we need to worry about, we go on Crystal Ball's platform. I think we can really only benefit from that. I'm not seeing it. And the top presidential candidates are all moderates. Maybe AOC is like 4th, 5th, or 6th with like 10% of the vote. I'm just not seeing that. They are successful in crafting the online media conversations. But in my concern of democratic politics, I just don't see the success that you see from DSA.
Okay, you said you're 20 years old? 21?
26.
Oh, you're 26. Okay. Have you ever heard the word MAGA in 2015?
No.
Okay. So these people didn't exist at all. Obviously, Donald Trump becomes very popular and then kind of fosters this new movement in the Republican Party. I don't think this argument of like, they're not popular now is a very compelling one because, one, they seem to now have a coherent political program that involves a media apparatus. And then 2, they are becoming more popular, right? You agree they're more popular now than they were 4 years ago or 8 years ago, right?
Slightly.
Slightly?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a huge, huge jump.
You don't think Mamdani represents a huge entrenchment of DSA-type power?
I think AOC already represented that. Mamdani is the only, he does have the ability to push it further. I do agree with that.
I think the executive of New York City has more of an entrenchment power than a representative in Congress who, to get anything done, has been forced to moderate quite a bit. and I would argue is significantly less popular today than she was, especially when she was first elected. So I think that they have become more popular. They do have a coherent political program. They do have a media infrastructure that supports them. And now they've entrenched themselves in at least one office, potentially multiple after this midterm cycle, where they'll be able to hold the door open for other people. And I don't see, and this is the argument I've made a million times, is I don't see people on the lib left having the ability or competency to push back on these people at all, because there are far left people that say you're never allowed to. And then there are people like you that say, they're not a big deal. I'm curious, what would be the marker for when they would be a big deal? When would you be concerned where you're like, okay, well, we need to dedicate like 5% of our media time to talking about this far left wing in our party?
I dedicate 5% of my media time talking about it.
Was I asking about your coverage directly? Did I ask what would it take? Okay, so we're talking about in general, so like the Josiah and the Pisco types, right? What would it take?
Just by your amount of coverage, maybe like 5% of Congress, not less than 1% that they are right now.
I'm not for my amount of coverage. I'm saying to like criticize them 5% of the time. What did I say with Josiah? Maybe for every 100 anti-Trump videos, you have like one anti-left video. These guys will basically never.
That was my saying, but fair enough. You're still stealing valor here.
I feel like I said it first and you stole it from me. You didn't realize. But regardless.
That's not true. I tweeted it out. You may have read my tweet.
Sure.
Anyway.
Hold on. Also, a lot of these interjections you're giving are in bad faith. Just because I'll ask this question. Do you think that I'm telling Josiah and Pisco that they need to cover the left like I do, as much as I do? Have you ever heard me say anything remotely like that before?
No.
Okay, so I don't know why you're saying to cover them as much as you do. I've never given that prescription. My issue is that they are never able to do it. And it seems like they basically never do, and then they're giving reasons why, and you've given reasons why they never should. So that's my issue. So at what point is the DSA large enough that maybe they should cover them 5% of the time in their coverage?
If we have a strong, it'll be large enough when we have enough DSA members to say things such as they're not going to be following the line of like Mamdani endorsing Jeffries. Once they say they want to destroy the Democratic Party, which I think there might be one who wants to destroy the Democratic Party. Other than that, we need to compete for influence in the coalition. And when we talk about like overall media coverage and time covering them, I agree like we can do more to cover them, but the real factional fights happen in the primaries, and you guys barely paid attention to the primaries until they were pretty much already over. Zohran Mamdani, the mayoral primary in New York, if you really think about that flashpoint, like if Zohran Mamdani had a real competitor that was not Andrew Cuomo, none of this would be possible. Do we agree that Zohran is like a huge gateway for what's happening right now for DSA, for these other like DSA members from New York?
Yeah, but that's my argument. They have a level of entrenchment that they didn't have before. But my question was, so it's just a messaging then thing? Like if, let's say that all of the DSA people lose their election somehow in the general in New York, and then let's say that Mamdani says we need to take over the Democratic Party, and they have even less power after the midterms, then you think it would be more of an issue because of the message?
I have confidence that reality will conflict with them, and it always does. They either crash back down to earth or they will be out of Congress. I don't think they'll be around very long. Or they'll have to, like, Zohran Mamdani had to keep Tish, the police commissioner of New York. She's like the biggest, like, pro-Israel, like, billionaire-backed whatever, like, everything the left hates. He forced the DSA into submission to accept her for pragmatic political reasons. I think that's a sign that their power is very limited. Like, what has Zohran actually been able to get done?
Well, he endorsed 3 DSA candidates, one that everybody fucking complains about, and all of them very handily swept their primaries and are going on to now be members of Congress. I would say that's a pretty big deal.
Okay, if a DSA candidate wins a competitive seat anywhere in the country, I will be worried if they win a competitive seat someday.
Do you consider the Wisconsin general election for governor? Is that like a competitive seat in your mind? Or?
So that'd be a sign of Francesca Hong that we'd have to be very, very staunchly in the coalition, but also against her. So I would say that it's completely harm reduction for her. So I do agree that's the biggest blip that we can see right now.
Wait, I don't understand what that meant. So do you think then that it would be worth, like, when do we cover her negatively then? Would you argue that we should cover her negatively in the general?
If she wins the general election and is able to be a popular governor, then I think it'll be a serious discussion. But I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't have much confidence that'll happen.
I don't know why you keep saying I don't have much confidence that'll happen. I'm not asking what your confidence is that'll happen. I'm just curious where the line is for you. Because if it's Mamdani is in one of the most powerful political positions in the United States, right, second to President. I mean, the mayor of New York City is a huge political office. So Mamdani is there. We might have a governor in Wisconsin that it might be DSA aligned. Once she's governor, we can talk negatively about her. So so if I started to, or if Josiah or Pisco or other people started to give negative coverage now of the new democratically elected Democrat Party governor of Wisconsin, that would be okay? You wouldn't view that as like just furthering party infighting?
Eliminate the threat of MAGA first, and then go ham on her. Is my position.
How is it? How does that eliminate the threat of MAGA? Wouldn't you be encouraging
Have her
MAGA?
win the election first, and then go after her.
Well, but then what? Then somebody's going to have to primary her, and then there's going to be another general in the future. No, like wouldn't hurting her necessarily help the opposition party in the next election?
I don't think she'll be a successful governor and win her next primary. I think that's a big evaluation to make when you consider the future success of these ideas. I do not think she's going to be popular. I think it's a mistake that she's even in the lead. The candidate was going to kick her ass, but her one of her campaign advisors or workers like double counted all the donations and lied about where the expenditures were going. They were doing huge campaign finance violations. But Francesca should not even be in the race right now. But all the good candidates dropped out, had scandals where like Mandela Barnes had a scandal where like a former staffer said that he abused their power dynamic and they hooked up, so he had to drop out. The other woman had the financial issues, and then Crowley is the only option. And I know we were joking about that last night about how I was joking about it, how he joined back in the governor's race because his wife saw a bird sent from God, a message from God, and he's not polling very well. That was a mistake. It's not like a huge example to me of the system working when all of the Democratic Party's presidential candidates, 80% of that or 90% is going to Pete Buttigieg, John Ossoff, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris is leading the polls. And a Democratic Party like that, maybe if there was an actual DSA candidate even polling, other than AOC at like 5 or 10%, we could have that conversation. But all of our Senate candidates are very, I'm just very confident in liberalism. I'm very confident in the political reality that no matter what arguments they make, no matter how much online domain they have, when shit really hits the concrete and we get on the run politically and elections come and go and 2028 comes around, I do believe I have trust on liberals that we're going to be able to pull it through. And I just think liberals are focused on destroying MAGA right now. And once MAGA loses the midterms, I am 100% on board right after the threat of MAGA is gone. To start up this conversation again.
Okay, I just don't feel like I feel like you're just trying to hand wave away everything by saying like, well, I don't think these people will ever be that popular, and you're not engaging with the reality that they are growing more popular, that their media is quite influential. Do you agree that their media is far outsizing the power that they have like in actual political office right now?
Yeah, the media makes them seem way bigger than they are.
Okay, which I would argue is problematic because it helps their candidates and it hurts our candidates. Right, the mainstream.
We treat them like a boogeyman. We help them get more popular by bringing up their Twitch streamers whenever a candidate loses or wins.
Really? Then why is it that they keep attacking the lib left for bringing their candidates up? Wouldn't they welcome it?
I would say that right now, whenever like you have the race in Michigan and a Democrat says, I can't vote for Abdullah Osaya because of Hassan Piker, the boogeyman, that's probably going to help aid in Hassan's image growing. I treat them like kids. I treat them like they're kids who we handed like a game controller.
Do you think that's how the average Michigan voter is going to feel when clips of Hassan's insanity start getting repeated on news cycles of him talking about, supporting Hezbollah and everything? Do you think that's going to be the average feeling of a Michigan voter in the general?
I think Abdul should separate from Hassan for sure and should denounce him, but I'm not convinced that wasn't be a big impact in this election.
I got you. That was not responsive at all. So let me try again. Do you think that the average Michigan voter is going to feel like Hassan is just an irrelevant boogeyman when there are clips of him and El Sayed being buddy-buddy, and then the stuff is being played of Hassan, like watching terrorist attacks and supporting it and talking about how it's better when rich white women are getting raped instead of middle-class or working-class white women? Do you think that they're going to be like, oh, this guy's just a boogeyman, ha ha ha, like this isn't influencing our opinion whatsoever?
Yeah, I think Abdul is going to need to separate from Hassan. I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact, though.
Okay, so then it's not just a boogeyman then, right? It's substantive, right? There's a real thing there that it's going to be damaging.
When we get to the overall point of the conversation here, and we talk about competing for influence in the Democratic Party, and we have creators in the space that we want to encourage to be better, that I don't want to jettison from our political angle.
I understand this just real quick because you keep saying this, and I keep challenging your point. I love what you're saying. I think that I agree 100%. It would be cool if we were challenging creators to do better and be better. But the fundamental issue I've always had with this is I don't want to be in a political coalition where they're allowed to attack me and I'm not allowed to attack them. Because if that functionality exists, then the function that you're talking about the sides strengthening each other, that never happens. That's why I keep asking you, is there a single example of a Josiah or Pisco type person ever going on these shows and fighting against the far left points? Not only is there never an example of it, Pisco said he doesn't have to go on to even do that. He said he'd be fine going on Fox News and never challenging their narratives. So in that case, every time you keep saying they're going to make our candidates better or this fight is good for us, I would say, no, it's not, because there's no fight. It's just a one-way backstab.
I don't think we need to directly challenge the creators in order to gain influence from their audience. Is my whole point. We don't need to challenge them directly. If they, and this is bad on like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kulinski for them not engaging in these conversations. But that's
It's
also
not bad.
political
It's
media.
intentional.
That's
It's
the
good for them.
reality of our coalition, though. That's the reality of our political coalitions.
No, it's not.
We
When has
have
that ever been
Democrats
the
right
reality
now
of our coalition?
not engaging at all with Kyle Kulinski or not engaging at all with any of these audiences. Do you think that's an option? Disengaging completely.
You wouldn't favorably engage with them, and you'd give them negative coverage.
When we talk about Democratic voters, if they see Kyle Kulinski favorably, if I want to influence a Democratic voter and they think Kyle Kulinski is a nice progressive, he's angry about MAGA because he covers mostly Trump, they think Hassan Piker is just a progressive, will I be able to influence them better if I tell them like their favorite commentators are dipshit assholes, or should I just focus on getting them out to vote for Democrats?
What? I don't understand neither. You created a dichotomy that's false on both sides. I'm not saying you have to call their content creators assholes, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't encourage them to vote for Democratic candidates. What I'm saying is people should honestly cover Kyle Kulinski and what him and Crystal Ball stand for. That's all I'm asking for. So when Kyle and Crystal, like the interviews that they give moderate Dem candidates are fucking wild. They're crazy. They're hostile as Fox News, if not more so. The Adam Smith interview was fucking crazy. The Mallory McMorrow interview from Crystal Ball, these are fucking insane interviews. Nobody, a complete and total silence from your lib left people about those interviews. I'm saying, why not cover it like they did when Bill Maher, who's an entertainment comedian guy, said, "Oh, I don't know, I might support fucking Vance, and I'm fucking retarded." Why not cover those interviews and show how crazy that is?
I mean, Adam Smith had one of the most dominating primary performances of any Democrat. I just don't think those interviews have that much of an impact.
Okay,
they don't have that much of an impact.
Every single thing
context.
you are saying in here is strengthening my opinion, because you always try to create some rhetorical escape for why you should ever hold these people accountable. You will never, ever, ever. This is why I asked you your line earlier about what you would say, like, now it's probably worth covering them, because the answer you gave me wasn't even real. You said, well, if their rhetoric becomes that I want to explicitly take over the party, that you don't even believe that. What if they had one state assembly seat in Alaska and then their rhetoric changed to that? We would never talk about it because they're irrelevant. Right. So I don't understand why you keep, like, it sounds like there's always a reason why you would say not to give these people negative coverage or not to push back on them. Like, do you think that Bill Maher is significantly impacting like the Democratic elections in Michigan or some places? And if that is the case, have you been critical about Josiah? Because I'm pretty sure, doesn't Josiah say like, Bill Maher is a fucking idiot or whatever? Doesn't Josiah go pretty hard on Bill Maher in that conversation when he represents like potential outreach to moderate voters?
Yeah, to piggyback off that, you would never treat Trump kindly because you're worried about like putting off potential MAGA converts, right? Like you would never make the argument that, we shouldn't be mean to Trump because if we're too mean to Trump, we're going to alienate possible previous Trump voters. No, you would never make that argument. So why are you making that argument now?
I'm sorry, rephrase that again. Sorry.
Sure. You would never make the argument. You made the argument that we shouldn't be mean to these people because we might want to win them over to our side. We might want to convert them. We might want to make them Democratic voters. Fair enough. But why wouldn't you do this with Trump? Right? Trump voters are gettable in some cases. Would you not want to treat Trump with kid gloves because you didn't want to piss them off and you want to be more amicable and open to draw them in? Why doesn't the argument work that way?
If I talk to a Trump supporter, I know that they, in my opinion, social identities and social issues dominate politics. So I know that versus DSA, a Trump supporter is probably going to be highly religious. They probably are very close to their identity as a white person in America, and that completely conflicts with my vision of a future for America. And then when we talk about DSA getting more popular,
white religious people conflicts more with your vision than people who are overtly trying to take over the party from the inside, who are pro Marxism and pro-Putin and Stalin?
Yeah, because in American history, in all of American history, America has been more geared towards white religious men dominating politics. George Bush justified Iraq by saying we're going into a holy war. Republican politics has always been primed.
You know that's
for
not
cult
true about
members.
George
One
Bush,
reason
right?
why-
That's not even remotely true. What?
I could find the quotes.
You don't have to find the quote. I watched it live on TV. He did say that I think he prayed and he talked to God, and this is the right answer. America went to war because we got terrorists attacked, and George Bush could have thrown a dart at basically any country on the planet, and we went to war with it. He didn't say I don't think he was. This was not like a call to religious people to go to war. Like, yeah, he uses religious rhetoric. Every president does. But
I'm sure you would agree the Republican Party has been far. It's easier to have a cult mentality in a highly religious evangelical group that's all the same race and culture versus the Democrat Party or the DSA, which is like every single minority group together.
Well, the Democrat Party, yes. The DSA, no. I think the DSA is perfectly copied. There's a reason why El Sayed brought more white people together in Detroit than has ever happened in the history of the United States of America. Like, there's a reason why these audiences, and by the way, all the content creators that seem to refuse to disavow or attack any of these socialist people, your Adam Mocklers, your Josiahs, your Piscos, all of these people also happen to be young white men. I don't think that's a coincidence. It's why one of the biggest pain points for this DSA types, for people like you included, and people like Keith Edwards, also young white men, were Jasmine Crockett. I don't think that's a coincidence.
I can't think of another candidate who has taken that approach towards their primary opponent that they lost to after promising to campaign for them. That's the only reason why I spoke on.
Did she? I don't believe she ever promised to campaign for him. I don't think I've ever seen a quote where she promised to campaign for him. And after she lost, when she was on stage, she said that she'd support the entire ticket and she was going to actively campaign for black members who are down ballot. She never disavowed Tallarico or said she doesn't support him in the general or she doesn't like him or whatever. She just said she was going to spend her time doing down ballot campaigning, but she supports the ticket. She said that explicitly.
Yeah, if Haley Stevens or McMorrow, or if Tallarico lost and did the same thing, I'd be criticizing them very heavily. And I've given Haley Stevens her flowers for this. My goal is to deal with the rising popularity of the DSA, and we have different approaches to that. I don't think that the DSA is full of irredeemable members defined by their national party. And when I say that, then your audience definitely believes that. Your audience definitely believes that I'm an op, that Josiah's an op, that we're all ops.
Wait. You guys aren't random. Intentions. You guys aren't random blind members of the DSA. You guys are political content creators. So of course there's a different standard.
It even gets into their minds that we could be acting in a way that moves people over to liberalism. I don't understand why that is such a hard concept to understand.
Because you guys don't message to anybody that you can convert. You only hand your audience over to far left types. Right? If you were going if they were going to adversarial platforms, like if you were to say Buttigieg tries that, I believe you. Buttigieg goes to neutral and adversarial platforms, and he tries really hard to sell a lib-left idea to these people. I think he's trying to convert people. If you were to look at my career talking to conservatives or neo-Nazis, sure, I could say, yeah, Destiny's trying to convert people. But none of these guys are going to conservative audiences. These guys are incredibly harsh to conservative audiences or to independents that seem Trump-aligned. See their commentary on all the Joe Rogans or the Bill Maher stuff that came up. And then when it comes to the far-left people, they have zero impact. They're never going to say anything negative about the further left people to them in the media, so why would they ever convert? The only thing they're doing is facilitating an audience transfer from lib left to far left. That's all they're doing. And you can't show me a single example. That's why I ask, like, what is a single time where who would watch Josiah and ever get a negative opinion from him of Kyle Kalinske or Crystal Ball? It would never happen. But nobody who watches Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske are ever going to see a Josiah clip and think, wow, actually, I think Kyle Kalinski's crazy, and I'm agreeing with this Josiah guy more. That's never going to happen because it's a ratchet where it's always set up so that if you watch Josiah, if you watch Pisco, you like them, and you might actually end up liking the further left guys. For the further left guys, they're always going to try to create that backstop to move anybody to the moderate left position because what do they call them? They say they're MAGA light. It's the single party duopoly. It's all the AIPAC supporters. Like,
yeah, I'm really happy this is the final day of DSA debates. These conversations are very drawn out. So for everybody involved here, I mean, I agree there could be more criticism. In my opinion, we can get more influence if we are the number one enemies of MAGA. It probably doesn't look good for us on the liberal side if they go to our pages and we're attacking the left right now in a period. Like, for example, Max Miller is a Republican that beat his wife and his granddaughter.
The MAGA fight is over. I know you like to talk about the Max Miller guy. We're in the primary season right now. Why do we care? Yes, we all agree MAGA is bad. MAGA is on the way out. We lost that election in 2024. MAGA is on the way out. Who knows what everything's even going to look like after the midterms, if the MAGA brand is going to have any staying power whatsoever. Like, the next fight is going to be whatever faction emerges from the MAGA carcass, who's also probably going to disavow MAGA.
The issue is here, for every one crazy DSA member that says they're anti-Thanksgiving that we have, Republicans have dozens of child abusers, dozens of actual criminals who should be in jail, who are government agents, who are leading political office, who are not going anywhere. And those people are going to be transitioning to whoever the next authoritarian right-wing leader is. The idea that MAGA is done, Democratic voters are looking for anti-MAGA voices still. So when they go on our pages and they see us, doing left bashing right now during the primary, they'll probably gravitate towards a Kolinsky or a Hassan who have covered Max Miller. I think it's good to cover Max Miller, who's a Republican congressman, who's beating the shit out of his wife and his granddaughter, who is Bernie Moreno, a Republican senator's daughter. It's his daughter and his granddaughter. This is like the Republican infighting. This is the perfect story that we need everybody to know, that the Republican Party, and they are still funding Max Miller's campaign. And if you think the fight versus Republicans is over and we should be left bashing, that's just the biggest difference here. Like, MAGA's over. I don't think MAGA is anywhere near over. I don't think Trump is going to be the only thing that falls, and then we're finally back to normal, democratic institutions. We're going to have to be working with this coalition. Is still going to be there when Trump is gone. We need to keep on bashing Republicans. It is still my goal to bash Republicans, number one, first and foremost. I don't understand why you would ever say like we're done with that fight.
Okay. Did I say that? We should stop bashing Republicans?
You said MAGA is over. I don't think 80% of Republicans should be bashing the left.
Oh, okay. I'll concede that point, because I was arguing that most people should have 80% coverage, disfavorable coverage of the left. I said that? Or wait, did I say that?
You said, who cares about covering Max Miller?
And then that means I think that people like Josiah and Pisco should spend 80% of their coverage bashing the left. That's what that means?
No. Do you not care about... What is your metric for knowing if you're successful with this? Is it more followers? Is it, a media environment that changes? What is your end goal?
My end goal for what? My life or my entire political mission? Right now, the issue I have is that there is a subversive element in the Democratic Party that has a strong institution now. And now that institution is beginning to churn out political impact in a way that nobody in the lib-left world, a few people are starting to get there, mainly bulwarky people, a couple people on, I think, MS Now. People are starting to get there, but they're still pretty far behind. And there's a whole bunch of lib-left moderates in the center of this fight who are constantly telling us that we can't pay attention to this like growing cancerous subversive aspect in our party, and they seem completely unable or unwilling to identify it and fight against it. And I only see it becoming larger and larger of an issue. Like, let's say that Al-Sayed loses slightly in Michigan. Do you recognize that would essentially be like the DSA costing us a Senate seat?
Possibly.
Does that matter to you? Because you talk a lot about like, well, political power and what matters at the end of the day, and being an activist and being an organizer. Does that matter? Losing a Senate seat, is that a big deal? Or
I'm not convinced, and I'm on the record saying this. I'm not convinced either candidate is going to win the Michigan Senate seat. I think that either is going to win or lose, depending on what happens in the political climate. I don't think there's much that's going to change that election. I don't know if that's going to be super definitive.
When I ask you a hypothetical, and then you say this is what I think will happen, I can't tell if this is an inability to engage with a question or if you're nervous and trying to avoid it. I'm asking if he were to lose by like a point, would you acknowledge that it would be a strong possibility that like the DSA stuff made us lose a Senate seat?
If he loses as a result of, let's say he refuses to denounce Hassan Piker, then yes, I would definitely blame them for that. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. It'd be like Cory Bush calling Wesley Bell a Republican.
Would you agree that that's like really,
if
that's
Pisco
problematic,
and Josiah
right?
do not say the same thing, then I would be attacking them too at that point.
Okay. Do you think that Pisco and Josiah will ever be on a Breaking Points type show to push back against far left talking points ever? The next 2 years? Do you think Adam Mockler? Do you think Micah? Do you think any of these people? What do you think? I don't know why you're. I don't know why you're saying I hope so. Do you think it will happen?
I think that if we pound MAGA, if we win 240 House seats, then yes, I do think there's a good likelihood that can happen from one of the creators that we're mentioning. I could be proven wrong.
That they're going to go and they're going to fight to the left if we have a good House victory.
Yeah, if Kyle Kolinsky says that it doesn't matter that Democrats won, now that MAGA's gone, these are all MAGA light people, and they're basically Republicans. If they don't push back against that, then I'd be talking about them then.
Even though Kyle Kolinsky and all those people have been saying essentially that message for the last 6 or more years. You think that now it's going to change and now they'll go and push back against it? You do acknowledge they've been saying essentially that for like 6 years.
Removed, whenever the threat of MAGA is removed, I think there's more potential for left infighting. And I said this to like Bernie people too a couple years ago, where if Trump is in the picture, everybody's focused on beating Trump. If you want to deal with stuff on the left, it's going to be in primaries, especially if we think Republicans are not presenting the threat they are right now, because no one is in the mood to like bash anyone on the left. And I agree with you that the people like Hassan who did not endorse Kamala Harris are benefiting from the wave that's currently happening. But my argument would be that we have to ride with this like populist wave, guide it into a better direction, so when it crashes, we're not falling.
I don't understand why we keep saying the same thing over and over again. I don't know if this is like a program talking point, if we're like in the Rubio robot world. You keep saying this thing of like, we need to guide it, we need to do this, and I keep responding to this saying that no guidance is happening. Do you understand that? That's why I keep saying, when will they ever go on these programs and push back? That's why I keep saying that, is because whatever guidance you're talking about is purely it's a delusional fantasy. It won't happen. It fundamentally misunderstands and misstates my problem with the current environment, in that the far left will only ever punch right. They will never host criticism of themselves. It's explicitly part of their political program, and you seem to be hand-waving that, saying, I hope in the future people will criticize them because they built credibility with their audience. The credibility only goes one way. I don't hear any response to those, and then we just like repeat this weird talking point.
Sure.
There is no
question for you, Destiny.
Sure.
If I may, right? What would change your mind about your the current environment? Like, you've made arguments that I happen to agree with, that we are in a time where there are subversive elements that are trying to kind of change the party and influence the party and push the party in different directions that are going to be harmful to Democratic Party as a whole and liberalism. What could we see, or what could change that you would be less inclined to feel that way, that you would be like, okay, maybe I was overselling this, maybe this was wrong, etc.? Like, what would we need to see?
I mean, my biggest worry that I said over and over again was the inability for any of these people to ever punch left ever. Like, I think that probably the epitome of this in my mind maybe would have been the whole BLM riot stuff, where there was like the riots all over the country. There was the whole defund the police thing that a lot of lawmakers were complaining about, behind closed doors, that there was a lot of radical messaging coming from the further left element of the party that for some reason the establishment wasn't able to accurately push back on, or adequately push back on, like either. Like there was just no way to do that ever, and it always was a disaster for any Democrat that tried to do it. If I was in a world where I saw any of these like lib-left content creators, if Pac-Man or Brian Tyler Cohen or Josiah or any of these people, every now and then released a video and they were like, ridiculously unfair interview on Breaking Points with Mallory McMorrow or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is. There's like, I see that it's there, like there's a limiting mechanism there, and I would feel confident that if the far left people got more and more entrenched and then more powerful, that mechanism would continue to ramp up, that the immune response would continue to kind of like, kick out, or it would increase, right?
We'd have the antibodies necessary.
Yeah, there'd be like a response there. Like if somebody got injected with a virus and you saw like 4 days later they had no fever, like my thought would be like, holy shit, this person has AIDS. There's like no immune system or something. Like they're going to die. This person's going to die. But if they had like a fever and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's like an immune response. Like something is happening. Like I wouldn't be worried. But all I hear from these lib-left people is infinite capitulation to these far-left people who are openly hostile in the most egregious manners towards our political party. Like a statement I've made over and over again is that like the most consequential election, it was the 2024 election, maybe 2020, and both of those were more consequential than 2028 will be. 2028 will be important, but 2024 was the big one, and that was completely fucked for no reason too. Like there was no reason to ever have doubt over who to support there. So I don't know, that the inability to accurately hold people to account for that is crazy in my mind. Like I would say that if you were a seasoned political commentator and you couldn't endorse Kamala over Trump in that election, I would never, ever, ever have you as part of any Democratic movement ever. You would be like completely castigated. You'd be outside the party, and everybody should know how fucking insane you are. So that would be my perspective, because it's such an easy question. At that point, like if you're willing to entertain those types of people, why not entertain? Like if Fuentes comes and wants to caucus with his candidates in the Democratic Party, and they're willing to try to fight like in more moderate areas, like I don't know, why not invite a Fuentes type? Like people will immediately be like, oh no, not the Nazis or whatever, because we have that inbuilt anti-Nazi thing. But for the commies, or for people that are intentionally trying to destroy our party, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe we can flirt with them over and over again, because in some hypothetical future they'll all just kind of like fade away, even though nothing indicates that that'll happen.
Question for you, Jolah, and then I'll let you respond to whatever you like. So you've mentioned that you personally criticized the left, and you've criticized the DSA, you've criticized people who are on the left that you feel are acting poorly. Is there a clip or evidence or maybe a tweet where you criticize any of the big liberal content creators for not going as hard as they should against people like Hassan or Kyle Kalinske or anything like that? Is there any time you've done that?
Do you mean criticize? I criticize Hassan directly, or do you mean like criticizing like I don't
Someone
know,
for not going hard
Josiah
enough
for
on
not going hard
Hassan
on
and the
them?
far left?
I don't know. Probably. I think I reviewed when Hutch and Josiah were on Crystal and Kyle when that came out, and I probably criticized. I know I was super hard on Crystal and Kyle during that interview. I'm not sure. I forget how hard they went, but it doesn't happen that often because they do not host conversations like that.
Okay.
As far left, so it's hard to recently it's
fair
hard to say.
I'm gonna let you respond to anything that Destiny was saying that you disagree with. Go ahead.
And this conversation will keep it will keep looping. So there's a population of people that believe one thing about the world, or they believe something about commentators, relationships they built up over years and years and years. And, the DSA is rising as like a social group as well for young people. I know from firsthand experience, the local Democrats are all age 45 up. If you want to hang out with young people, they're going to be probably DSA, or it's going to be another like, further left progressive movement. Now, these things are going to be existing regardless if I participate in them or not. And if you're a fan of Hassan or Kyle, that's going to be there already. It's going to be happening. So my goal is to be attached to those communities so I can vie for influence in those communities. And it's just going to be a difference in opinion. I understand, or at least, tactics. I understand what Josiah tries to focus on and why he doesn't get involved in lefty infighting. I think it is debatable how fruitful that can really be. But yeah, everything that I'm doing is, in my opinion, good faith to try and make sure that Democrats can beat Republicans. And I'm not happy with these elements of the left. I'm not happy that Kyle Kalinske never hosts a conversation critical of the far left. But I know how they are. I know how Crystal Ball is. I know how these people are going to act, how they're going to react to it. The best thing I can do is how can I reach into their audience and pull people to my side. So if it means having Hassan videos every once in a while where I criticize him, or if a Hassan fan comes in my chat and I can introduce like, hey, Hassan said this about Mao. That's way better than if I would, or if Adam or if Josiah would be like, the other extreme of calling Hassan like a dog shocking terrorist. And that was my criticism of Destiny's community. To consider me, you could just say I'm dumb or whatever, but saying I'm an op is kind of crazy. If you want to say I'm a useful idiot, I'm going to be abused by the lefties, then that's fine. But at least I have the opportunity to vie for their audiences. I would say that Destiny's and his community have almost zero potential to do that, and he could definitely influence the Bulwark, which I think you definitely have gotten in with the Bulwark. But yeah, it's just a difference in goals. So this conversation will keep on looping. The one we had with Wick earlier, Wick is much more aggressive, I think, about like the DSA overtaking Democrats or whatever. But
maybe I am. Anything you want to respond there, Destiny?
Yeah, I agree. It's a loop. He keeps saying that he will have pull on these other audiences, and I'm just going to say that it's never going to happen, and it won't. That's why there's no examples of it happening right now. But maybe in the future I'll be proven wrong. But I don't. I just don't ever foresee it happening. It hasn't happened yet.
Fair enough.
I interacted, yeah.
No, finish, and then I'll...
When I interacted with Destiny's community in the past 2 weeks, I got brigaded with messages from the far left, complimenting me, asking me to join their side. They're like, we don't care if you're a communist or a socialist. We don't care. The DGG community is calling you an op. You should come join us. And I'm like, I'm not doing that because I'm not in that crowd. But the incentives for being associated with like Destiny's community, the barrier for entry at this point is pretty high for people who are new commentators. And I'm someone who does like Again, I'm not a huge commentator, so I don't expect people to know this.
Can you explain this barrier?
I criticize Hassan all the time. I make videos criticizing Hassan. I do it to Hassan fans, and I've gotten some of them to back off from Hassan a little bit. If I do that, and I'm not out here because you always ask the question, did he shock his dog? All these other like litmus tests. Then the audience Destiny has, and I think for good reason, for the the stuff that happens with the snarking, and I don't even want to get into that bullshit. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be a very easy way to enter.
Wait, you don't want to get into that bullshit?
Community.
You mean the stuff that people like Hassan explicitly and constantly spread, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the fight you're participating in, and that's why.
Well, wait. Do you think do you think that's the fight I want to participate in?
No, that's why I started the conversation acknowledging there's things that are going to be disconnected from like on the ground politics, and I'm talking about the underground politics, and
Wait,
you
but
have
these are
other
part of
reasons.
it. I don't want to talk about my sex life all the time. That's Hassan who pushes that
agree,
issue,
yeah.
right?
No, I 100% agree with that, and that's why.
But
that's
they do it.
I
Why do you think
it's
he
good,
does it? He
yeah.
does it intentionally.
Yeah, to make sure no one ever listens to anything you say about him, because
Exactly.
they'll never.
And then they're
put
friendly to
criticisms,
you
yeah.
because you function well as an op against liberals, right?
I don't. I think they just know that your community is going to call me op, and they want to try to get me to their side. But the moment I
but,
say
I mean,
no,
they call you.
I believe the same negative things, then.
But you don't like. For instance, if I were to go through any of your coverage, have you ever gotten any facts wrong that were disfavorable towards far left candidates in the same way that you seem to have gotten so many facts wrong against like moderate candidates, like the Gillibrand jihad thing? Is there a single one that you can think of, like off the top of your head, where you're like, oh, I said this about Al Sayed, and I was actually really wrong on this?
I said like a week ago that Abdul did not commit to endorsing Haley Stevens. I said that on Twitter, and I said I expect him to come out and say this, but I got berated with a comment saying that he did say he would endorse Haley if he lost. So I did spread that, and I had to retract it because I thought he did not.
Wait, did he?
Yeah.
Where?
I'm not sure if they did on the debate stage. Let me see. I can find that tweet if you guys want a video of it.
Well, not the tweet of you pushing back. The tweet of did he say he would endorse her if he'd lose?
Yeah, he like said, he just said to the reporter, like, I think you might have.
I did read this, and for the reporter, he absolutely didn't. So now you're giving me an example of you giving a lib left take, and you're an example of the far left harassing you out of that take, and then you changed your take without even seeing any evidence. This is the ratchet effect
He said
happening.
it on Pod Save America too. I could try to find that clip.
This sounds like the ratchet in action right now. Like this is literally it.
I'll give you a second to find it. Take your time. In the meantime, let me read some of these super chats while you look. Just make a little money here. So £5 from Riz What the Fuck to say, can we get a live fact checker on this? I'm not sure we can trust that all these statements have a factual basis. Well, he's finding the clip now. We'll give him time. $5 from Caramel Cold Brew. For the goal, I want to see Wick's tears. Thank you for that. $2 from Odashara, Yummy Yummy Tears. $5 from Hedonic Samuel. We're going to be hearing Republican ads about Hassan until 2028 unless we nip this in the bud. It's shrimple. $20 from Keir Starmer fan, 123. Pisco hate comment, Josiah hate comment. I will be unalive before I stop being DGG. Vote Mike Rogers. Okay, thank you for the $20, I guess. Quantum Fantasy, member for 22 months. 1930s Germany has some lessons on the small group. Don't worry about it. Well, thank you for that. Any luck on the clip, Josiah? Or sorry.
Hey, just because we are both
same J. It's a J name.
Just because we both sweep for communists doesn't mean we're the same person. Yeah. So this is a post from Too Raw Too Real, who's a very very liberal account. Even I think he made fun of like Bernie Sanders' heart attack a few years ago. It's in your Discord DMs, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so remember, Destiny said that I was a product of the ratchet effect when I said this, and he said that Abdul did not actually endorse supporting Haley Stevens if he lost. So Destiny right here just lied to you.
Or what did I lie?
Okay, wait. You can clarify.
No, wait. What did you say? I got wrong?
You said I'm a victim of the ratchet effect. You said I'm a victim of the ratchet effect, and Abdul never did that. So I'm happy.
Wait, what did I just say?
Clarify.
What did I just say? What did you just say that I got wrong?
I'm surprised you did not. Wait, how did you not know Abdul said he'd support Haley if she won? How did you not know that? I thought you covered this stuff.
What did I just say that was wrong?
How did you not know Abdul said he'd vote for Haley Stevens if he lost? Or
I never
her?
saw that anywhere, and I went looking for it. Did he?
It's really surprising. I thought the left was the only ones who are inaccurate with the representation of the center of the party. But
I don't know why you're not answering the question. Did he say that? Did he say he would?
Yeah, we can clarify right now.
I have the clip he sent me. Let's see if it is correct. Are we all watching so we can all hear?
Oh, wait. Wait. Oh my God, what was the thing? Oh, okay, I'm watching.
Okay, we're watching? Cool.
Primary, will you support her in the general?
I've been super clear about the fact that we got to beat Mike Rogers. So yes, you guys keep asking me the same question.
Okay.
Okay, that seems like it. Sure.
Fair enough. Okay. We found the clip of him saying yes. Great. do we think that, I guess, well, where do you guys want to go from here? I can invite callers in. We are looping though, right, at the end of the day. But I guess, Jolah, do you stand by your statement that Destiny was lying about this? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think smearing me, saying I was a victim of the leftist ratchet effect is really crazy to do off the rip before even having proof of what happened. That's pretty crazy.
Well, to be clear, I said that because you referenced the article that I did read on stream, and that article does not say what you just said. That's why you have a video clip now from another thing, which is like, and I'm granting it, but that was a pretty light answer, but that was the issue, is that
I'm
you
giving
cited
the
an
same
article.
charitability your community has shown me.
You're
when
giving
I say
what?
that. It's very stupid. The same charitability your community has shown me, I'm giving it the same level. Like it's very annoying when people just act like you're like being unfair about something that you should know already about the primary in Michigan. You should probably know that Abdul. You talk about it a lot that he said he would vote for Stevens. It seems like something you should know.
It seems
You're
like
a
something
pretty
I
big
should
political
know,
commentator.
and you've been critical of me not covering these primaries until the last minute, right?
Yeah, and this is.
Then
this
can
is
you tell
why
me if I
said
should
that,
know
'cause you don't
this?
really know.
Can you tell me why you got it wrong then, and you had to be called out on other people to correct the misinformation? Because you said that you yourself also had this belief, and you said you covered this far more than me, but you had to get called out on Twitter to change your mind on it. So why didn't you know?
Yeah, I knew that 10 days ago. I got corrected because I engaged in conversations
So
about
you
the primary.
didn't- so you
Usually when
didn't
you talk
know.
about
So
the
you didn't
primary,
know.
you learn stuff about
Sure.
it.
So you didn't know.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you
I
didn't
learned
know,
about it
okay?
because I actually covered the primary. I found out about it. It's a week after the primary. You still don't know. That's kind of sad.
Because nobody's ever produced that clip. That I guess that's like a 6-second clip before, but
Yeah, because your audience also does some things, sometimes not as bad.
Hold on,
but
when
also
was this
does-
clip from?
I don't understand how you're. Yeah, I don't understand how you think there's like such a strong.
It's not
Right.
strong. It's just that you said I was a victim of the leftist ratchet effect.
Because I think
Here
you
go.
are,
You believe
yes.
something, and you got bullied out of my position, and it turns out that you were wrong about it, and that's fine. We're allowed to be wrong about things and walk it back and clarify. You saw the video.
Sure,
now,
you can
and we're all good.
walk it back and clarify. But I asked
All
you a
good.
question. You cited an article that didn't support what you said. Now you managed to
Ball
find a
out,
different thing
we're
that
good.
does support what you said. But I don't know if you've just never seen that
Abdul
before,
was
and you
on
managed
board
to.
with supporting Democrats. It's really good that he does that. I follow Too Raw Too Real. I recommend that account. Very strong liberal account on Twitter.
Are there times where he was asked this question and he dodged the question? Why couldn't he say the same thing when he was asked multiple times?
When?
What?
When?
Destiny, do you have a clip of him dodging the question that we can look at?
Well, the one I can think of was the same article that he cited. That's the one that I read, where it seemed like he was unwilling to give an answer. But that's why I'm not sure why he cited that article of him talking to the reporter.
Yeah, he did it on PodSave too. I mean, maybe Abdul
Also,
had to be
during
bullied-
the- did he
bullied
refuse
into
to-
that position?
During the debate, on the debate itself, did he dodge that?
I'm not sure if they asked it. Did they ask him the debate? I didn't watch the whole thing.
I don't know the answer to the question whether it happened on the debate stage or not. I wasn't sure if he was asked on the debate stage. I don't know what he answered on the debate stage. I don't know.
Let's use Claude. Let's see if I can find it.
Claude, okay.
That's what
I
Hutch
guess
uses. I
the-
don't use Claude though, but Hutch does, so I follow.
Wait,
him.
I'm curious. You used Claude because when I asked Claude, I said, are there any clear statements from Abdul El-Sayed where he said that he would explicitly endorse Haley Stevens if he lost the primary election in Michigan? Claude's answer to me was, short answer, I couldn't find any clear on-the-record statement from El-Sayed explicitly pledging to endorse Stevens if he lost. The reporting on that question ran almost entirely in the other direction. What is documented, and then it cites 2 Slate articles, Stevens was repeatedly asked and answered. She told Slate in July that she would endorse and campaign for El-Sayed if she lost, saying that she was on the team and told CNN on primary day that she would support him if he won the nomination. She followed through. After conceding on August 5th, she posted that she had called El-Sayed to offer full support. And then the closest analogs for El-Sayed is from 2024, not this race. As a prominent backer of the uncommitted movement, he said at the time that he would support the Democratic presidential nominee over Trump in the general election, a general commitment to backing the party's nominee. What did you ask, Claude? Because clearly I prompted wrong because he didn't find anything when I asked.
Looking for it right now. I just remember seeing that Too Raw Too Real put up that clip because Too Raw. I mean, you'll have seen clips of him before. He's more of like
Well,
a
it is
center
from the
supporter.
reaction room, and so if this is a reaction room from one of the debates or the primary, like if this is reaction to primary night coverage,
Well, what is that? Wait,
I
can
think
you
we
link me?
can-
What is that? Or what is that interview from? I guess link me the thing.
I'll link you the tweet he gave me. Give me a second. This is what I was sent. Would it be fair, though, while he looks at that, would it be fair, Jolah, to characterize El-Sayed as having perhaps been less vocal than he should have about endorsing the candidate? Would that be
yeah,
a
I think
fair-
El Sayed. I criticized him for not being hard enough on the left for endorsing for helping out Stevens, if he did lose. So I would agree with that characterization. Yeah.
Okay, this seems to be a post-debate conversation from July 27th, 2026 is what I see on a Fox News website.
So that's
I'm
that's
happy
a few
both
days
candidates said
before
that at
the-
least.
A few days before the.
Well, their statements were not even remotely equivalent, right? Stevens was far more committed to supporting whoever won than...
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Also, to Jolah, you understand why we might need fact checking from you, given your mischaracterizations of both Haley Stevens on the Obama endorsement and also Kirsten Gillibad's statements about Mamdani from last night. You understand why DGG might be a little skeptical of your claims in the future?
I think that picking apart the TikTok I made is very stupid. I did say that was wrong to say that Obama endorsed her, and I clarified to say that they were using it, which I also give credit to. If Obama said anything nice about me or my candidate, I would be blasting that shit everywhere. So good job, Haley, doing that. I agree with that. With Gillibrand, I still refer to her apology. I still think that she chose her words wrong and did say Mamdani was referencing jihad and intifada. Did she call Zoran a jihadist? No, but I think that most people would infer that she was off the shooting from the hip at that point on a random radio show. And I
Wait,
think
what
that's
was it
why
in
she
response
walked
to,
it back.
though?
A caller called in and said like something about Zarwan being anti-Jewish and being unsafe for Jews in New York
What was that
City.
in response to, though? Why do they feel that?
Because of the DSA in New York City, I'm guessing.
Wasn't it
And,
because of his
October 8th.
refusal to disavow the globalize the intifada statement?
Oh yeah, he initially said that he would be unwilling to police the speech, and then he discouraged it later on. Yeah.
So don't you think if somebody already is talking about like globalize the intifada, it's not like Gillibrand just brought up, he jihadist. It's not like that language came from nowhere. And also, she didn't call him a jihadist, right? But like, if that's the language, I mean, that is what globalize the intifada means, right? It's a reference to jihad. Like, so I don't understand what our huge criticism is of Gillibrand here. You just said shooting from the hip. It doesn't feel like she was shooting from the hip at all. It seems like she was responding to something pretty in particular now.
I'm referring to that she walked it back like a day later and clarified what she meant by that statement and said that her and Zaran spoke with each other. But I agree. It's good to fact check each other. So I'm happy we were able to do that tonight as well, and as well as last night. It's good to do. Thank you, Wick.
You're welcome. I try to make sure that everyone stays within the bounds of reality.
Very
I
fair.
don't know.
You're
I
very
just-
fair.
Look, I think that when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, not to insert myself too much, even though I love to do it, I think that you can say all day that you're trying to be a conduit to pull people from the DSA or from these far lefty chats and make them more liberalized. But like until we see actual results, I think it's healthy and good to maybe doubt the effectiveness of your strategy, because what I see happening isn't what you're saying of these DSA folks getting more liberalized. What I see happening is the opposite. I see extremism rising amongst especially young Democratic voters, right? Or young people in general. A lot of them don't vote, unfortunately, right? And so I wonder if maybe the tactic that you're using might not work.
It's a long-term plan as well. As I said before, it's not going to be one big fight where we're like, oh, this is definitively the end of the DSA. My goal is to pull influence from different areas as much as I can and influence things in a better direction. And again, loop. But yeah, that's going to be my position. I don't know if there's anything else we could throw in to make it any particular debate topics we can throw in to make it more
So
poignant.
you have
or
no
not,
other issues with Destiny or how he's conducted himself either towards you or towards the leftists in general, or
Or
towards
let's say,
anybody?
well, here's a
it-
question just
Sure.
on the vein of the last question. If there were far left people and their goal was to ultimately subvert the Democratic Party, and they were to try to create lib left people to facilitate that, how is the people that they create, how would they be different than you, Josiah, or Pisco? What would they have those people do differently?
I would probably say that I do think I have some issue that there's a lack of coverage. I haven't seen too much of Pisco's. coverage about like Hassan. For myself, I think I'm in the clear with how I cover Hassan pretty evenly. But I'll have to think about that question in particular. How would they design a liberal? They'd probably pick like a Keith Edwards in particular. And I think Pisco and Soypill and them push back against Keith Edwards. So he does strike me as somebody that might be a little bit sus. But
Wait, so Keith Edwards'
ideal
coverage is identical to Josiah's and Pisco's and everybody else, right? Like their coverage is in line with his coverage.
Yeah,
and Josiah
I
was
would,
sweeping for him the entire time in that conversation, right? Soypill was the only one really kind of pushing back on him.
Josiah said, I think he called into Pisco like the other night and said that it was a terrible performance by Keith, but I'm sure.
But that's a lie. That's a lie from Josiah. What he means is he's trying to sweep for Keith, who has legitimately deplorable fucking views. And Josiah's doing like the standard MAGA sweep where you're like, oh, it was a bad performance, or oh, like he was goofy. Oh, but he wasn't goofy. He stated what he meant clearly.
Well, to be clear, Josiah did push back against, and I was there for this, Josiah did push back against Keith Edwards on Hassan. And he said that you should, and I remember this clearly, Josiah told Keith Edwards that you should reconsider your views on Hassan. Hassan is a net detriment to the Democratic Party. He did say that, so I will give Josiah his flowers for that.
Yeah, I won't. That's a crazy softball statement, but okay. Especially given
no,
the sweeping
look,
it did for the entirety of the conversation, yeah.
I think Josiah could be much and should be much more harsh and hard on the left.
And I will admit, I might be a little personally in one direction just because Hassan and the people around him like consistently green light or make death threats towards me, and I might get assassinated at some event because of them. But I understand why people like Josiah wouldn't give a fuck about stuff like that. But in my mind, that's like kind of fucked up. That's just how I
was going to make that point,
but,
where I was going to make that point as well, where when like the community calls me an op, I think it's rational to have your community be closed off. So I think that's rational. But also, if anybody from your community, thinks that's how you engage in like a local Democratic Party, that's one reason why I comment on it. But I do think I don't blame you.
Like
at all
if
I
it's
don't
not
blame
like
you
the
for being like
assassination
that.
threat against you directly, but it's against other people in your party, then it's still okay. But if they were to do it against you directly, then it'd be bad. I think that's actually a really reasonable and fair position to take.
The
for
idea,
sure.
as most of Hassan's
That's why I don't
fans
really
and
mind a lot of the
fans
MAGA
don't know
stuff, because
about
I'm not
this.
black and I'm not an immigrant and I'm just like a white evangelical voter, I guess. So I don't care. Like,
The Hassan fans, I would wager that probably 90% of Hassan's fans don't know that happens. And those people are who I'm trying
that's
to talk
fine,
to.
and they're
So
never going to hear
yeah.
it from somebody like you. So I mean, it's at the end of the day, that's the
But
strategy.
I can convince them to come to my political side
No, you
and
can't.
be away from
you
Hassan through
can't.
other
You'll never
means.
talk to them. They're never going to hear you. You're never going to have access to that audience like that. It hasn't happened yet, and it's never going to happen. But I mean, we'll see, I guess. But
Well, if
I
your
hope I'm
community
proven
can't
wrong.
support anybody
about we
who's
do
going to
this?
be
my community can
tangential to
support
that.
people. What do you mean?
I got no credit from any. I mean, there are some people coming in and saying like,
You shouldn't get
obviously I do
credit. You're an
criticize Hassan
op.
a lot.
You're part of a controlled opposition that only sits here to serve to make the other side more palatable. Yes, of course. I wouldn't want my community to support.
The op that says that Hassan's a pro-Russian, pro-Chinese hack. Yeah, that's what the op is going to say.
Yeah, but that doesn't cash out into anything meaningful for you. Would you poll support for any candidate that was running alongside Hassan Piker? You even endorsed El Sayed in the primary, right? Forget the general, but you endorsed him in the primary, right? So this isn't moving the needle for you at all on anybody. You are the perfect op. You have criticism for Hassan, but it never cashes out in political action. So you get to try to maintain a facade of credibility to like lib-left people, but the far-left people know they never have to worry about somebody like you taking away from their political power. And all they'll do is they'll harvest an audience from you while you trick, and intentionally or not, try to subvert like mid-left people to far-left people. Like that's the whole point.
Housekeeping thing right now. If you're cheering on the death of someone in my super chats, we're going to remove you. Okay. Let me get rid of you.
Like, by the way, I've heard stronger statements from MAGA people and that say bad things about Trump, but at the end of the day, it doesn't cash out at anything. So those statements are worthless. It's like the number one op tactic ever is like, well, I don't support everything Trump did, and I think he actually did some bad things. And it's like, oh, do you think that Trump was still the better pick than Kamala? Absolutely. And it's like, okay. It doesn't really matter. It's just these are like op statements.
Listen, I don't get ratio 200 comments to 10 likes saying that liberal Zionism is good just so I could be called a. I mean, you could call me an op. I really don't care. But I will
Sounds
still
like you
defend
care,
liberal
though.
Zionism.
Like-
Well, you're saying liberal Zionism is good. Okay, so wow, big statement. Would you ever change your support of a
it is.
candidate based on them using AIPAC funding as like a singular thing to attack their primary candidate with? Would you ever support anybody? Like, at the end of the day, what does this cash out into? They're just some tweets.
I think Cory Bush probably gets into that realm. I would not support like Cory Bush, but like Abdul, the money was insane. It was like objectively the number one source of money in the entire primary. I think it set records from AIPAC. And AIPAC, AIPAC I think is a deplorable. I support like J Street more so.
Sure, I mean that doesn't really answer my question at all. But I'm curious, who do you think
Sometimes
would have been the
it's
best?
justified to criticize AIPAC, and it's not like anti-Semitic. Sometimes it is.
Wow. Okay, I never would have guessed that. Who would you support more in the Wisconsin primary?
I would want people to vote for Crowley. I think Hong is a mess.
Okay.
Not that I love Crowley, but
If you were in Wisconsin voting, you would vote for Crowley over Hong.
I would, with a hope and a prayer, vote for Crowley, and then I would vote for Hong. I would probably make pro-Hong arguments as long as she's somewhat freaking, I don't know if she'll moderate, but yeah, I would vote for Crowley if I was there.
Okay.
I support Josh Shapiro. I mean, I support pragmatists across the board. We do exist.
Okay. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to finish reading super chats. I'm going to give you
Wait,
guys
hold
some
on.
closing
Did we feel
thoughts.
like did you feel like did you feel like Crockett didn't endorse Tallarico?
She said vote for the Democrats. She did not say I endorse Tallarico, but she did say vote for Democrats, so that's good.
Okay. We remember the 16-second clip from the last thing where I guess that was good enough for Al Sayed to, we say he would have endorsed Haley Stevens after, right?
Yeah, there is a clip of Crockett saying she would support Tallarico, then she went back on it. So we don't. I would give you
Wait.
points there to say that we could hypothetically say that Abdul would not have actually followed through with it.
Well,
like
no.
Crockett did not.
So Crockett. This was the morning after the race. She said, "This morning I called James and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part, and will continue working to elect Democrats up and down the ballot." That doesn't count
There's
as an
a
endorsement
TikTok
to you?
I've been sent of you, Jolah. Do you want to watch it together?
Oh wait, crap.
Hello? Did we lose him?
Don't worry, he's coming back.
Hello? Jolah, are you still here, buddy? Lovely buddy. Are you here? Did we lose him, gang? I have a TikTok he did on July 9th about the Tallarico thing and what he said, and I'd like to see his comments. But I want him here to see it. Okay. We're going to give it like another minute. In the meantime, let me read some more super chat. Hopefully he gets back. Okay, where did I leave off? Okay. $20 from Bangarang. Thank you for the $20. There is nothing to gain from siding with socialists, communists, or any DSA member in general. They are controlled opposition with the goal of stealing the party from libs. They are not allies. They don't see the libs as allies. Good point. F4 in leader for $20 more. What is the obsession with keeping the door open, quote unquote, for lefties when they never support our candidate? Why not focus on strengthening our own party instead of reaching out to these people that slap our hands away? Thank you for your $20. Thank you for the Tier 1 membership. Mythos GG. Really appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. I think we lost our connection there. Well, that sucks. How do you think the conversation went, Destiny?
I mean, I feel like I'm looping on the same points. I don't know if these are like talking points that go around between like all of like these weird like lib left sweepers, but it's always like the same weird collection of things where it's like this, we'll hold them accountable in the future. And I was like, no, you won't, right? That you can't do it now. And like I said, and I think this is really hard for people because like our elections and all of this have gotten more and more extreme as time has gone on. I really do feel like our huge moment was 2024. And if you weren't willing to show up there, I mean, if they refuse to support a moderate candidate in 2028, I will be less mad at them than their refusal to support Kamala in 2024. That was such a fucking killer, monumental moment in U.S. history where a guy who tried to fucking coup the fucking government got reelected. I just can't, what an indictment on U.S. democracy that fucking happened. And then all of the criminal investigations on him are killed. They're never coming back. The amount of personal enrichment, the amount of potentially irreparable harm to the government, to our institutions of science, to our reputation around the world, to the security of huge regions. Now the entire Middle East is hanging on by a hope and a prayer. I don't even know what Iran is going to look like in the future. Ukraine's position is obviously far more precarious than it should ever have been. Taiwan, Hong Kong is completely gone. I don't know what the future of Taiwan looks like. Like everything is just in such a worse position that like USAID is gone. We don't even care about that though, because it's mainly, I guess, black and brown people that are dying. The Department of Education is gone. I don't know if it's going to take another bill from like there's so much damage. Like. Yeah, like Jesus, like it's just fucked. The idea that it's like, well, they got as long as they come along with the next one, it's like, holy fuck, you missed the train, you missed the moment, bro.
So
like, sorry.
Here's what we're gonna do. I want to watch this TikTok anyway. Get your thoughts on it. I wish he was here to comment on it, but you know, it is what it is. Then I'm gonna finish reading these super chats, and we're gonna take some callers, and then we're gonna just let you go. So if you have substantive disagreements with Destiny, if you think that Jolah was right and won that exchange, I'm going to make sure that you get preferential treatment to come in first. So just let me know, and we'll do that. But let's watch what he had to say about Jasmine Crockett. Let's see. Are you watching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commenting on Jasmine Crockett. Okay, so Republicans are amplifying Jasmine's words just recently, today and a couple days ago, of her saying James Tallarico runs racist campaigns, and that has the goals of making us fight each other and also in suppressing voter turnout. So black voters in Texas don't come out to vote for Tallarico, which Jasmine is also suppressing voter turnout for black voters in Texas. Let me be clear, she is actually increasing black voter turnout for...
Wait, she is increasing black voter turnout? Wait, is he correcting himself? Sorry, fuck, never mind. I all of the statements he's making, I like, just because of how I've seen him comment on things, I would have to like fact check everything. Like, was Crockett actually saying these things, or were people fighting against the crazy white people from outside of Texas who were being racist towards the Crockett supporters? Were they saying these things? Like, I don't know what the answer is. There was a lot of hostility. Like, I will say this, there was a lot of hostility, it seemed, against Tallarico from the black community, and from everything I've seen, I don't think Tallarico said or did anything to warrant that. But all of the negative racial response was coming from the outside people like Jonah commenting all of the outside racial commentary coming into Texas. That was my impression. That's everything that I've seen on that. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. But I'm sorry.
I share that. Oh
yeah. Do you want to? Can you replay this from the beginning? Because I feel like I've
yeah. We got Jolah back to answer. So Jolah, are you here with us?
Hello. Oh crap. Yeah, I'm here. I can participate. I'll have my camera up in a second. My bad.
Yeah, that's fine. Are you able to watch the stream? We're watching this TikTok that you had.
Yeah, I know that TikTok. You can watch it. I have it on my phone.
Thank you for permission, but I just want to make sure that you're able to respond to it. But we're gonna go through it. We're gonna see
we could do a little, Jasmine. I need to save some of it. I'm doing a dedicated debate with Tom Foolery later, and I already pushed his debate back to 9 instead of 8 to do this. So we could do a little bit into it, but I don't want to do like the full thing. I'm saving it for Tom, but if you guys want to do that, we could do it for Tom. But sorry.
Yeah, we don't have to talk a lot about it. So for some reason, he had this TikTok. So
again,
we watch this one.
Jasmine Crockett. Okay, so Republicans are amplifying Jasmine's words just recently, today and a couple days ago, of her saying James Tallarico runs racist campaigns, and that has the goals of making us fight each other and also in suppressing voter turnout. So black voters in Texas don't come out to vote for Tallarico, which Jasmine is also suppressing voter turnout for black voters in Texas. Let me be clear, she is actually increasing black voter turnout for her selected candidates, but for James Tallarico, she's making it very clear he's not on the team. For whatever reason. She says it's not her job, but, you know, I've been called a dumb racist white boy a lot, and it's been great being called a dumb racist white boy for expecting a Democratic Party leader to endorse the U.S. Senate candidate that she lost to, like every other Democrat does, when the Supreme Court is on the line. The U.S. Supreme Court, federal courts, and federal judges. We talk about the clean air and water, investigations into ICE. ICE, remember, they zip-tied a bunch of black babies in Chicago and threw them in the back of a freaking van after coming out of Black Hawk helicopters in Chicago because a landlord wanted to harass their tenants. So we saw black babies tied up, zip tied. Like, for those investigations to really happen and have an impact, we need the U.S. House and Senate. You know, we need, you know, that's the reality. Votes will be cast. Someone will be in power. We need that. We need that to be James Tallarico, and all hands need to be on deck for that to happen. And Jasmine, if she's not going to do it, you know, you're right. The conversation should be over. I had fun engaging in the discourse, but yeah, let's move on to another topic. Things are big. Things are moving. Things are happening. I hope Jasmine turns around and says, you know, I'll join with Tallarico on stage and be united, but it is what it is. Jazz.
1 second. Okay, I did retract the racist campaign statement. So that was off of the Colin. It's really in the weeds of the primary, but it's the Colin Allred comments where a TikToker claimed that James Tallarico called Colin Allred, who's another Democrat, a quote unquote mediocre black man. And Tallarico said that he was calling Colin Allred a mediocre campaigner, but Colin Allred is pretty close with Jasmine, and they kind of let it hang that Tallarico was pitting black men and black women against each other. So that was a big claim during the primary. But in terms of like running a racist campaign, I don't agree with that anymore. The accusation.
Were you here for when we read Jasmine Crockett's endorsement of Tallarico on the morning
I
of?
classify that as like a vote for Democrats. She has never said the word endorsement. She has a PAC called the Fire PAC that has a list of candidates she's actually going to be endorsing and campaigning for. And I'm happy she said she's going to vote for support Democrats. But look at Haley Stevens right now. She's like, I'll go to any corner of Michigan to do whatever the party needs me to do. Jasmine's not doing that. She's picking races in like the California, Michigan and stuff to support. But yeah, that's the whole thing for that.
Wait, but her statement was Al Saeed never made any statement anywhere near as strong as that as well, right? The one statement we found, that 8-second clip, was very wishy-washy.
No, I agree. I was going to give you that point earlier that Abdul, we never got to see the reality in which Abdul loses. So I don't deny there's a chance that if Abdul does lose that he is a sore loser. I don't deny that at all. You may be correct about that. We just don't have the opportunity to see that reality.
Well, what we're talking about just beforehand, I'm here. Somebody sent me this and I haven't seen it, so maybe this will help his point or not. But apparently, all three of them, I guess, are asked who would endorse who. If you want to play this,
Okay, we'll watch it together. Give me a second.
My camera. Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay, everyone watching?
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
If you are unsuccessful in this primary, would you endorse the successful primary candidate and encourage your supporters to do the same, Mallory?
Absolutely, yes.
And then that was very quick. Okay, we're gonna go to Haley.
Well, absolutely. And I am proud to be on Team Democrat. I am, I love being a part of campaigns, whether my name's on the ballot or not. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure we beat Mike Rogers. So yes, yes, yes. And let's go win.
And Abdul.
Yeah, we've got to beat Mike Rogers. There's no question about it. Beyond an endorsement, the most important thing we can offer each other is an understanding of the folks who supported us. So I think the hope I have is that all of us will sit down and share perspective on what it takes to really win folks over. We live in an era right now where the internet offers a level of transparency. Endorsements don't matter nearly as much as they used to. What's critical is that we have policy that really can inspire key people to come along. And so my hope is that all of us will sit down, whoever the winner is, and have a real conversation about what it looks like to unite the party and the real kind of significant changes that we may need to make in order to be able to bring folks along that we may not have been able to make in the primary.
okay.
What do we think?
Long-winded.
I would say no. That to me sounds like there are some things about these other two candidates, that are a bridge too far. But if one of them does manage to win, hopefully they're willing to sit down and have a hard conversation about them needing to drop certain issues to earn his and his voters' endorsements.
Do you think that's an accurate representation of the clip we just watched, Jolah, in your opinion?
Definitely possible. I think Abdul has always had a attitude towards him that needed addressing. And Mallory McMorrow, after the primary, went public that she said to Abdul, he ran a good messaging campaign, but he needs to stop making everybody his enemy. So I think Mallory was sending a message with that after the primary too. So yeah, I agree that Abdul was not like super quick. Like Haley and McMorrow were like yes, and he took a long-winded to make it clear he would want concessions. So yeah.
Okay. Well, in your
Wait, so to be
opinion,
clear, the
Jolah,
concessions, that's not an endorsement. Making something conditional is not an endorsement, right? That's saying that no, I won't endorse you. You have to come to my position to get my endorsement.
His other statements are pretty cut and dry. I haven't seen enough to really be able to tell.
His other statements, we had the one article that you brought up that I had read that didn't say that. He refused to endorse anything. And then we had the 8-second clip where he kind of wishy-washy. He never used the word endorsement. He just said we would support whoever to beat Mike Rogers maybe. So I don't know why you're saying there's like some hardcore like, oh, for sure, we know that he did support her. This was like one bad answer. I've queued Claude a million times, and it's not like even you did and couldn't find anything. And Claude is saying as much that like it's really hard to find. They're all very wishy-washy, but they're all pretty strong in Steven's directions in terms of her endorsing the winner. So I don't think it's accurate to say that there was a strong endorsement from Al Sayed's side.
Can I ask you, Jolah, do you think if you had to rate the strength of endorsement from El Sayed in those clips that we watched versus Jasmine Crockett, who had the stronger endorsement for the opposite candidate?
Let me see. I can say
read
Jasmine.
Jasmine's endorsement again if you need.
So I will say also, I'm going to be mean here. You should know this. You shouldn't have to look this up because you've attacked me multiple times for not following the primaries closely, which, by the way, I haven't. I fully admit that. I don't pretend otherwise, but you've used that as some kind of like knowledge check talking point that you've covered these so extensensively, and my interest has been so shallow and transparently not interested in the facts of the ground. Well, no, but I'm saying that like you very clearly are having to query, you're having to query databases and you're having to query bots to figure out the answers as well. You don't have this information right offhand.
There's a local news station. From I think Houston, where James Federico and Crockett both interviewed, and they answered the same question, and they both said they would campaign statewide for the other candidate if they lose, and that's one of the reasons why I said Jasmine walked that back, because she's not going to campaign statewide for Tallarico, only for the races she chooses. I can look up I forgot the name of that station, but I did read these quotes many times. But
okay. Is it possible that you misremember them the way that you misremembered her saying that Tallarico ran a racist campaign? Because that was also a statement that was repeated falsely by a ton of left-leaning people online as well.
I retracted that. Yeah, I retracted that.
Doesn't matter after the race is over, right?
Because many people got that interpretation from the Colin Allred story.
Sure, but the damage was done. It doesn't matter at that point. Just like Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball now saying, well, maybe we should have supported Kamala. Who cares? The race is over at this point. It doesn't matter.
I would say that voting for Kamala over Trump is extremely...
That's not my question. Earlier, I posed a question of what would they do if they wanted you to be like a perfect op, and doing something like spreading misinformation while a campaign is happening and then apologizing or retracting afterwards would be perfect controlled opposition.
That was after the campaign. That was after the campaign. That was after the primary, months after, when I was criticizing her.
You weren't criticizing her at all during the campaign?
Hold on,
no, I was going to support whoever won.
This TikTok you made, wasn't
pro
this
Tallarico.
right after the primary?
I criticized Crockett. Yeah, after the primary was over. I criticized Crockett for the statement she made. She said something about like, black people are done being slaves, and that's why we need... I forget the exact quote. Something about immigrants and black people are done being slaves. I forget the exact wording for it, but I did criticize that quote from her, and I said that would hurt her statewide because of the large Latino voting population in Texas, I'm pretty sure.
Does it concern you that this keeps happening, that there keeps being like rumors and lies spread by people on who either are advocating for the far left or are on the far left, that when we look into them, they're either very much misconstrued or just entirely false? I think the UMitch voter is a good example of this, right? Does that concern you at all that this keeps happening from one side?
Yeah, definitely. And well, Too Raw, Too Real, if you look at their mentions, like he got lambasted for endorsing El Sayed because his audience is more in the center. So he got some of that treatment for like going from the center to the left. So I would say it happens more from the left. But it still, happens in the internet and TikTok age. We're going to get things wrong. Like usually for a TikTok, and you are encouraged, like breaking news is obviously garbage, but I still do it because that's the media form that we're currently participating in. But it's like you hear a news story, you research as much as you can for 5 minutes, you get your 1 minute clip up. So I do try to take back things that that might be wrong in those, and it's bad. I agree it's bad. But just like the DSA thing, I would rather participate in it and try to guide it in a little bit of a better direction
during
than not
the
participate
primary
at all.
campaign. Are we going to be able to find any clips of you calling Jasmine Crockett racist or Stevens racist or anything like that?
I made the one about Stevens pandering to black voters that I thought was funny, and then for Jasmine
you thought it was
Crockett,
funny, right? You called her racist, but you're saying that that's a joke?
Yes.
You were joking when you called.
It was about pandering. Yeah, it was a TikTok about pandering. Yes. And we went through that last night. I'm trying to think about.
Do you think it's fair to say that?
Do
you think it's fair to say that El Sayed was pandering when he lied over and over again about his clinical experience as a physician?
Yeah, definitely. That should be definitely attacked. And he also sold like he sold like supplements like brain juice, moon dust, or some shit at one point. So I think that should have been, exploited more by Haley Stevens in the campaign, because that shit's crazy. He was doing some
did you
Dr. Oz
exploit
shit.
either of those things? Did you mention any of those in any of your videos leading up to the
I didn't
primary?
know about the El Sayed thing until after the election, that he sold that kind of stuff. And that's one reason why I criticized Stevens, because I was like, if you're gonna bring up, the podcasting Abdul does, and he's going to be he wants to be an all-star and a celebrity. If she would have said that during the debate, I would have been able to look it up. But
Why do you think she brought up the podcasting thing
and,
so much?
I didn't know. She didn't really pound the point home in the debate.
Don't you think the reason why she brought it up obviously was because the idea is you want to be more of like a celebrity or an influencer more than an actual politician? And didn't you just agree with McMorrow earlier that El Sayed has a little bit of an arrogance problem, like in that clip that we just watched where he couldn't just simply endorse the winner of the election? Maybe those two things are actually more closely linked than you gave it credit for?
Possibly. I'm trying to, it's all possible, sure.
It's all possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's read a few more of these super chats. Then we'll get to it. $20 from Das Vildania. Espalier endorsed Mamdani. Mamdani said he wouldn't endorse against him. He broke that promise to endorse Chevrolet, who is a tanky. Why should we trust he'll stick by his endorsement of Hakeem Jeffries?
Why should we trust it? I trust it because we have no choice but to trust it largely. But also his huge concessions on like Tish as the police commissioner and the other DSA candidates who are endorsing Jeffries, it gives me hope. Daria Lisa is that one spot where I'm like, I don't know, what the hell happened with her, but hopefully she moderates. We'll see.
Well, what do you think happened? Was it just random, or did he have a aneurysm, or?
I think that the local DSA put her up as the candidate. It was a winnable race for the DSA, and he said he had a conversation with her to shut up about things like Ukraine and to just try to get political power. So I definitely do see that calculation happening for sure.
Okay, so then it wasn't wacky or random at all. It was strategic.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
if you think it was
$20 from
strategic, why
Beard.
would we say it was random and we don't know why it happened? Why don't you just give a decent theory of mind for why you think it did happen?
Sure. And the candidate there barely campaigned, and it was he could have easily won. Esbayat could have done a better job too.
Sure, that's
her.
completely non-responsive. But I'm just saying that you had an answer where you're like, I don't know, this is so random. But then you replied with the Destiny answer of like, actually, I think they're very strategic with how they operate. But you didn't give that until pushed a little bit. These are the types of things that don't give me any confidence that anybody will be able to push back against the far left because they never have any of these things to say. Just my...
Well, until after the campaign, then they apologize after the damage is done, so that they can retain a level of credibility because people will forgive them, and then they'll repeat the cycle in the next primary session. But anyway, $20 from Fear Darkness 2. Didn't know Halloween was today. This Jolah guy needs to take his mask off. Thank you for $20. $20 from F4 in leader. Small group in terms of size, but this kind of soft coverage allows them to use us like a springboard. It starts with a few seats and ends in a similar takeover like MAGA. The first few are the hardest, but it's a slope. Any comments to that? No? Okay. $5 from 556. Jolah, welcoming the commies in just to beat MAGA in the short term is wrong. Cut it off now. Don't let them trash your party like MAGA did the GOP. Thank you for that.
They're not
$5 from
commies.
Veggie Boy.
They're random people. Many of the people I work with literally just wanted to organize, and I'm like, hey, the DSA, they're a little bit further than you think they are. Like, I'm trying to make sure people don't fall into the national DSA. So that's whatever.
Okay. $5 from Veggie Boy. A good thing we are electing DSA since they want to get rid of police and prisons. Okay, thank you for that. £2 from Riz. What the fuck? Really good discussion. Way better than yesterday. Well, I'm moderating today, so of course it is. Okay, $20 from Sibex Han. For Jolah, question 1. Why are you punching left on Hunter Biden going on Tucker Carlson?
Because him and Tucker, they focused really, really, really hard on the Israel point, and I think that unrestricted populism, when it comes to Israel, is breaking too many brains all across the political spectrum. And I think the type of collaboration they did may aid to get Democrats to watch Tucker. And I know a lot of people that are Democrats that now watch Candace Owens as a result of Hunter Biden going on there. So I appreciate Hunter Biden going on these platforms. I think he should correct the record, but I don't think he's, even Nick Fuentes too, I don't think he's equipped to handle those conversations.
Question 2. Why were you silent on Pod Save Boys
Wait.
promoting Tucker's
It's bad to do shows on Candace Owens, but it's okay to court like people like Hassan? How do those two views exist in the same mind? Could you explain that for me?
Because if I cover Hassan, I think I can effectively reach his audience. Hunter Biden talking about his addiction and talking and correcting the record on like Joe Biden and Burisma and stuff, I think that's all positive. But I think there's an argument that the negatives about like, you know, the Israeli conspiracy or, you know, the sloppulism is kind of outweighing the good. But I mean, you know.
How do you think, what would be, so earlier you kept asking me for metrics for success. How would you know, what would your metric for success be to know that you're reaching Hassan's audience?
When someone comes into my chat, I have many Hassan viewers who were very against like liberal Zionism. So I don't know if I have a big enough channel to really talk about my specific metrics there. But just explaining, for example, to Hassan viewers, like why it seems anti-Semitic to deny that Jewish people need protection at all in the Middle East. It's like, oh, we could take this liberal democracy or this illiberal country like Israel and combine it with another Middle Eastern illiberal country and somehow have a liberal democracy and have no protections for Jewish people. I've been able to get that point across to them that I think, and I think if I had more videos calling Hassan like a terrorist and stuff, I would not have them in my audience to have that conversation with. And you can think that's not going to be effective. Like,
well, so I'm just curious. So then you think that you have convinced some Hassan viewers that like Israel has to exist as like a Jewish protected state? You think that's the case?
I think I got them more accepting of like a Brad Lander, which I think do you have an opinion on like Brad Lander's liberal Zionism and his collaboration with DSA? Do you think he's positive in doing that, or do you think he's just helping them?
I don't have a strong opinion on it because I don't know what their position is ultimately going to be come election time, but I'm curious, you think that you've convinced some Hassan people that like Israel should exist as a Jewish majority protected state? You think that
at the very least, I was able to say even if you think of one state's possible, which is not, and I would try to convince them out of that, you would need to have extreme constitutional protections for Jewish people as a minority. Just like in America, we need minority protections in America, and that's the big point of why. Because they asked like, why are we getting called anti-Semitic? And I think I did reach a couple people on that. And again, I don't know if that would be able to branch out and be super effective broadly if my channel grew rapidly in size. But I have had pretty good conversations with local DSA members that I know about that. But.
Do you think that Jews that feel like they're going to be genocided in a Muslim majority state feel like they're not going to be genocided if there are constitutional protections for them?
No, but I think that's a good bridgeway for them to not say, to lean away from anti-Semitism. I think it's easy. I think it's much easier to convince somebody of a two-state solution with protected populations in both states if they understand why they're being called anti-Semitic instead of just saying you're anti-Semitic and saying you're a terrorist supporter. Maybe if I'm able to communicate with them why people say like, hey, you're fully disregarding the idea that Jewish people need protections at all. I think that's in proximity to the more correct answer and less harmful. It's not going to happen right away, but I think after like my own progression, being like a Bernie bro, Jimmy Dore type, and finding content like yours, it happened over a period of a few years. It did not happen like one day. There was a big debate where I'm like, holy shit, I now believe in, I'm now not a Russian simp like Jimmy Dore is. Like it happened over a long period of time. I just believe in that kind of change. I think I'm trying to gear myself in that direction.
I mean, fair, but you only seem to have this for people like Hassan and Kyle Kalinske and them, but not for people on the right who follow things like Tucker Carlson and things like that. And I don't like if that's your belief that we can reach out to people and de-radicalize them and give them off ramps. Why are you only doing this one way? Why not both?
I have spoke about, so I try to take the approach I have, like I want to be able to go out and be like, Stephen Miller is a Nazi. This Jewish man is a Nazi, the Stephen Miller guy. And that's just not going to really work. And it shuts people's, or Donald Trump is a Nazi. Like we know they have white supremacist beliefs. We know the way they talk about Somalis is crazy. But if you call Trump a Nazi, no one's going to listen to you. So I've had to in more emotional coverage, my biggest thing is like taking Trump supporter calls. So I've had to walk back from that because I know that's pretty thought terminating. So I would say I've tried to moderate that, even in relationships with friends or family. How can I reach them closer to where they are to change their opinions and not shut their brains off right away? Because if I make them too involved with the group they're currently in, I run the risk of reinforcing their current group identity. And I don't want more group identity with DSA and Hassan. I don't want more group identity with MAGA than there already is. And I'm also against like the terms like white privilege and toxic masculinity, because it's these academic terms that are very thought terminating.
Hold on, didn't you earlier in this conversation say that white religious people are more of a threat than socialism and that kind of thing? Do you not think that that's playing into these stereotypes?
I was saying it's more of a threat for an evangelical. I think evangelical voters vote like 90% Republican or something. Okay. For white evangelicals to feel anxiety about the white race being replaced and banding together around one person who's going to lead them to the promised land, it's much easier to gain like a radical coalition in that kind of party versus the left, which is a bunch of different ideologies, a bunch of different minority groups and different cultures, and we all have to work together. LGBT, and we have to balance all of those. And I think diversity is inherently anti-authoritarian, which I do credit to the success of America not becoming more authoritarian is our diversity. Our diversity is our strength.
Question 2 from that same super chat was, why are you silent on Pod Save Boys promoting Tucker's show uncritically?
I would definitely, if someone wants to link me that, I haven't been involved in, I took like a few months off YouTube content recently, so if anyone wants to link me that, I'd be glad to watch it and critique it.
Well, this was several months ago where PodSave posted a clip saying, I think it had to do with like, oh my God, Tucker Carlson has the right view on, was it Iran, I think? I don't remember.
I might have actually criticized them for that. I'll look for a second. You can read more, but I'll see if I can find that.
I don't know if it's true. $10 from Divinorum, DGGL. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. $10 from Red L PPB. Who is the current primary threat to American principles? This is to both of you. Can you work with enemies to defeat a primary threat? If you can, is it important to make it clear these people, DSA, are still enemies? I want to hear Destiny first. I want to hear from you, Jolah. Go ahead.
Who do I think is a primary threat right now?
To American principles, yes.
I mean, like, it's hard to say, because the threats lag in terms of elections. So, like, I would say right now, the obvious and ever-present oppression of our principles would be MAGA, but, like, that's unavoidable now for at least until the midterms and then largely until the next election. So, like, the time to deal with that was in 2024. Because they're in office now, but, like, I mean, it lags because you vote and then they're going to be in office for 2 to 4 years, so then you just have to deal with it. So there's not much you can do to combat it at that point. I mean, you can oppose things in the House or whatever, but, like, Trump doesn't use Congress. He doesn't believe in Congress, so I don't know how that's supposed to help much.
What's your answer, Mr. Jolah?
The question was if you can work with enemies to do what? Sorry.
Can you work with enemies to defeat a primary threat? And also, who is the current primary threat to American principles?
Yeah, I made that appeal to Bernie or Busters when they were saying that we should let Republicans win, and I was trying to say that Democratic voters, when MAGA is around, they are very very focused on beating Trump. So they're not going to typically go more progressive. They'll want to choose more moderate, safe candidates. There's a large reason why Joe Biden won the 2020 primary. So I think if you want left infighting, as long as they support electoral success of Democrats, even if some of them are assholes, as long as they support electoral success and I could beat them up and get them to vote for our presidential candidate, like Keith Edwards did vote for Kamala Harris. He's probably at the line for me of where I would like go, work with very directly. But I think, it's...
I don't know why we bring up Keith Edwards as an example. Keith Edwards is radicalized. Like, yeah, he did vote in the past, but he's like a radicalized
You
person,
think he's like... You think that he's substantially different from when he was posting like super pro Kamala, is what you're saying?
Yes. I don't think that, for instance, if Ossoff will not be supported by the DSA types because he's Jewish, though they won't say that, but also because he's more moderate on a lot of positions, and they will probably fix it on that. Some of them have started to pick out some of his answers about Medicare for all and everything. But I don't know if or rather, let me be more particular. They might support him, but they will absolutely be completely and totally silent on far left vicious attacks on him, just like everybody was about far left vicious attacks on any other Democratic moderate.
Fair enough. $5 from Treveka. The DSA supporters will only point to external sources for why their candidates lose and never internally. DSA need to be better at taking blame. Fair enough. £5 from BX8578. Does Destiny agree that many of the attacks on AES and Mamdani are Islamophobic? Why doesn't he condemn them, even tying them to stuff Hassan said?
If you listen to my stream, this is a person who just never listens to me. I was insanely critical of all the I make fun of all the time, if for no other reason because I've done so much Middle East studying. Calling Mamdani like a radical Islamist is the most fucking brain dead retarded thing in the universe. Republicans are for some reason super fucking hungry to try to foment some weird fear against like Islamic terrorism. And I truly have no idea like how in what world there's any success at doing this, because it's a huge joke. I've talked about this relentlessly on my stream. I think it's hilariously stupid. So that guy's just not a viewer of mine, but that's fine.
€6 from DT. Thanks for showing the Destiny hate ratchet effect, Jolah. Op succeeded. $5 from Bad Horse. If Destiny could Thanos snap away Hassan or the DSA organization, which would he choose?
Probably the DSA.
$10 from Per Thompson. I thought Jolah covered the primary. Why did he not even watch the whole debate? $20 from DBZM. Why not focus on larger, more moderate base of voters rather than the smaller group of extreme leftist voters? You are more likely to lose votes if you platform wilder views. Why risk losing a wider amount of obtainable seats? This is to you, Jolah.
I think you can play separate roles there without elevating those voices to the front. I'm not choosing to do that. If the algorithms do that, then I have to work with what I'm working with. I don't have control over the exaggerated effect of their platform. So I would say that I would approach both issues separately. But I think we can manage to do, we could rein in the DSA and also have a moderate outward-facing message as much as possible.
I still don't understand this. I don't understand how this answer. I don't know if there's a program talking point. We keep saying can rein in the DSA, can moderate the DSA. That's never. Where is that ever happening? When you're saying over and over again that you can never criticize them.
It's not going to be. It's going to be difficult to give a definitive like here's exactly where it's happening because it's like I said before about the social groupings. If I want to meet people my age, I need to go to a more leftist event, and that's not really going to be fixed necessarily. And some people might have different experiences in democratic politics, but that's what I hear from people in New York and liberals that I know. They're like, hey, the DSA is Zoran Mamdani and I'm going to join it and have fun. I'm not going to find a specific moment. It's more of like a social understanding that, I want to maintain contact and not cut myself out from the group totally. So if I'm not going to be able to move their more radical beliefs away, then it's kind of how I deal with my more like ignorant, like conservative, like cousins or something, where I'm like, yeah, bro, like, yeah, sure, Candace Owens is super base, bro, but also maybe don't vote Trump. Like I'm just giving nudges in the right direction. You might think that's a full game, but it's hard to really. It's just a predisposition I'll have towards how I treat participating in like a competitive coalition.
£5 from Riz What the Fuck. Has Jolah made any videos falsely portraying any DSA tanky candidates as being racist, or does he only make them about normal Democrats?
Did I cover any DSA? I don't know if I really covered any DSA candidates. I think I may have said like don't vote Hong. Yeah, I've more so covered the Senate primaries and more competitive ones.
€2 from DT to say Wick actively advocating against his own tagline. I'm not sure what that means, but fair enough. $5 from Cooperation. This guy is just describing his networking scheme to us and pretending he's doing politics a great favor. $2 from Mini Mumdu. D thinks it's funny to unalive people. Remove him. Do you think it's funny to unalive people, Destiny?
I thought it was funny when Hitler killed himself.
$20 from Chachi McSwack. Jolah is the exact position Soy Pill is, just worse at hiding it. Culturally, radical, woke, progressive, obsessed with white bad, men bad, Christian bad. These are allies of tankies. They just apply Marxism to different traits. You want to respond to the allegations?
I don't know how if I was like white bad, I'd be like, I don't know. I actually I'm like extremely moderate on my trying to moderate my discussions around like white people and stuff because I'm from a very conservative rural area. My actual real political engagement is more to do with like flipping red seats. I live in a very Trump area, so like the internet conversation just totally gets away from me. But yeah, that's no, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a I hate the whites.
Fair. Travakia for $5. Question to Jonah. It's Jolah, but fair. Which endorsement is more harmful for a Democrat candidate, Hassan Piker or Liz Cheney?
Hassan. I don't think Liz Cheney had any impact, positive or negative.
Okay. Real serious for 100 ARS, whatever that is. I say take some advice from the commies instead of constantly critiquing them. Lenin, quote, put no faith in words, subject everything to the closest scrutiny. This is the motto of the Marxist workers, end quote. Okay. $5 from Mr. E713. So we can criticize Crockett, but not Hassan?
I criticize both. I mean, I have a record of doing that, so.
$5 from Germsro Solino. Jolah using lies, half-truths, and I didn't know about that at the time. This is why they call you guys Blue MAGA. It's like watching a MAGA debate. $5 from Dodger Jim. DSA is a cancer to the Democratic Party and must be excised, not welcomed. $10 from Per Thompson. Jalopy, confronted with his lies, but not caring about how much he's gotten wrong, says everything you need to know about him. He'll keep spreading these jokes and lies. $5 from King Wanted 982. What did Jolah mean when he said, quote, someone please get me on with Kyle Kalinske. I'd love to shit talk Hakeem Jeffries with my childhood hero, end quote. Did you say that?
Yeah, I probably did. I like Hakeem Jeffries now, though.
So you were just
radically
joking
pro
then,
Hakeem.
You changed your mind?
No, I changed my mind. I'm
your
radically pro Hakeem right now. I'm still anti-Chuck Schumer.
Fair enough. DBZM for $20 or 20 pounds. I'm sorry. Jolah, why not focus your content on more positive promotion when presented with information that may be false, like with the racist remarks? If it's going to be harder verifying information due to the pace of your content.
I have very positive Jasmine Crockett posts, but the issue is like those get 500 views and the anti-Jasmine Crockett ones get like 100,000. So, I can't control the algorithm, but I've been very positive on Jasmine Crockett as well before this one particular.
But you're
topic.
less positive because it gets you less views?
No, I'm saying that when I am positive, no one sees it. So they wouldn't know that I'm positive on Jasmine Crockett because it doesn't get views. Yeah, the algorithm pushes negativity more.
Polly Psychic for $10. I think we have to remember that authoritarians need mythology. Populism creates a myth to build upon. We're almost done, don't worry. $5 from Dick Johnson. Ask this moron if he thinks the Republicans should have nipped the Tea Party in the bud.
Sure, yeah. I mean, they like it, but that's their kind of thing.
$5 from the only Brian. If we had a moderate, non-MAGA Republican like Romney versus a DSA candidate like Chevrolet running for president in 2028, who should we support? Chevrolet versus Romney. Who you voting for? Lightning round. Go.
The problem with the weird binaries is that I would have to take into account like the political stuff that exists at the time. This is why I gave that one hypothetical that I would rather have Hitler than Donald Trump as president because I think most of America still hates Hitler. I don't think he would have a very good time getting his agenda passed. So in a world where you still have MAGA, I don't know for Romney. I don't know how much Romney would be willing to push back against the worst instincts. It's the same way that I evaluate the DSA types, to where it seems like the lib-left people can't have any pushback against these far-left people. So it makes me really, really, really reluctant to ever support any of these far-left people. But if you had a strong Republican Party that did have some kind of moral backstop, then I'd say I'd probably support Romney. But if you had a strong lib-left party that had a backstop against some weirdo commie shit, then I'd probably support Chevrolet or whatever, however the fuck you pronounce your name.
$5 from Mortis Tyrannus. Destiny, thank you for showing me that there are still liberals who disavow self-described enemies of the West. When will the media apparatus agree? $10 from This Is D. Question for Destiny. Can you clarify? Do you see DSA types as an immediate threat to the party or country, or has the recent arc mainly been to stamp out the possibility of a future threat?
I view them as threats to the country because I think that they're doing bad things in the Democratic Party, and I think they're having a bad impact on Democratic elections, and they stand for things that I'm fundamentally opposed to.
Nick Kilo for $5. Jolah, Do you think you're contributing to anti-Semitism by calling AIPAC deplorable?
I think that criticizing anything associated with a minority group can definitely have that effect, but I think I'm pretty responsible when I talk about AIPAC. I never say it unless if I can justify like the United Democracy PAC spending from Abdul's race. But I've been very public about being pro Jewish people having a safe place to be in the Middle East. So
$5 from Patty Gamer. Is it possible to measure if Jolah was effective or not at moving Hassan and DSA viewers? Any chance of a debate with Destiny? What do you think is happening right now, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. I don't understand. With that said, I'm going to invite some viewers in. I know a few of them are DSA types, and we're going to prioritize that and see what they have to say, and then we will let you guys go back on your merry way. So here's where we go. I'm going to bring them in right now. Hello, you're live.
Hello.
Hi. You had some comments and some questions. You are a DSA member, correct?
Yes. What's up?
Okay. Well, you're here. You called in. What do you have to say?
I think my perspective is really on this kind of conversation has been mostly this, and I do apologize for generalizing it because it's been like almost 2 hours of conversation about this. But basically, it comes down to Destiny being like, listen, bro, it doesn't matter if you're cocky about liberalism being superior to DSA's image. We need to go on the offensive. And Destiny, I'm just going to say this outright. Even though I'm a DSA member, I respect you more than any other liberal on these platforms. I really do. And the reason why I respect you more is the fact that you're a partisan for liberals. I think that if we're going to have this so-called civil war, we should actually have these fights and not pussy around. I'm going to call out people like Pisco for this. Pisco, who acts like a liberal but wants to defend DSA sometimes. And what's his other guy's name? Poundering Politics, a.k.a. Jeremiah, who sometimes goes on Hutch's live streams. Yeah, yeah. Hold on. I want to keep on going, though. Sorry. Like, overall, there's a trend, including with this guy who's in this room with you. I can't pronounce your name because I'm, like, really dyslexic. Joe or something.
Jolah.
Jolah, thank you. Like,
Jolah.
you guys have this pattern of either defending us or not taking us seriously when it comes to this, like, civil war fight. And I just want to understand the thought process of, one, why are you cocky? And two, why is it that your friends are following this logic that you need to defend us on little things? Like, for example, Wick will call us authoritarians, for example. But people like Pisco, Poundering, and people like you would not use that type of language against us because it doesn't really matter because Republicans are the main threat. Like, what's your thought process so far about DSA involved in the Democratic Party and your limits of attacking us, really?
Authoritarians. I just know DSA members and they are goofy. Okay, they are a goofy bunch. They want to have fun with their friends. The National Party for the DSA, I predict if AOC remains prominent, will not be in leadership anymore, especially with them being so embarrassed on the stage and it's whatever. I don't care about your question. Your question
this seems
stupid.
to be you seem to have misrepresented your stance to me, Mr. Matt. This doesn't seem like you have real big problems with what Destiny's been saying.
It was more of a me wanting to respect Destiny comment first, and me directing my attention towards Jolah. I just wanted to get that out of the way because a lot of people want to assume, DSA person versus Destiny. I don't really give a fuck about Destiny. He's an honest partisan, and I respect that. It's mostly just towards Jolah. It's just like you didn't really answer the first question though. Is where is the cockiness coming from when it comes to liberalism?
Okay,
because where is that,
Matt? Thank you.
Rules get shit done, baby.
But yeah, if you're gonna represent yourself as something to me, and then you're not going to be that thing, I don't know, man. It's not a good way to keep going on the show. Let's bring on another guy. Well, you're live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, what you got?
Yeah, I do have like a point, but I want to just add before I get into the point, Jolah. You understand that like Mamdani didn't just back Chevalier over Espaillat, he also backed Valdez over Reynoso, the very progressive Brooklyn Borough president who endorsed him during the primary. Was one of the first major New York political figures to endorse him during the primary. Why do you think he did that?
Did he endorse Mamdani after Mamdani won or before Mamdani
No,
won?
it was during the primary. It was literally when Cuomo was still in.
Then Mamdani chose his ideological compatriot. I would recommend liberals do the same thing. If you get endorsements from progressives, you should still endorse your liberal candidate because that's in your interest. Why not?
So do you think Reynoso shouldn't have endorsed Mamdani? Would you go back in time and say don't endorse Mamdani?
I mean, I don't think he had any choice at that point. He probably had to be a team player if it was clear Mamdani was going to win. So that's for his calculation. But if a liberal did the same thing in reverse, I probably would expect them to if it's in their rational interest.
Well, I think like the point I'm trying to make and what I made with my super chat is that it seems like Mamdani has a very specific objective, and that's to fill more Democrats with the Democratic Party with like more DSA types, which seems to undermine the Democratic Party. Right? Because Reynoso was like, Valdez had like one term as a state assembly person, and Reynoso was multi-term city council person, Brooklyn borough president for 4 years, I think 5 years. Well, it's going to be 6 years by the end of this term.
Who ran against him? Was that Valdez that ran against him?
Yeah, it was. Well, no, that was an open seat. That was Nidia Velasquez's seat. It was an open seat.
You said
So
Reynoso was the one that Valdez beat.
Yep.
What were how close were the results for that? I'm curious.
It's not close. That is
Did
the
Valdez blow him out?
Yep. Because
Oh, okay,
because of the
yeah.
Mamdani endorsement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
my
Do you
actual
have the-
point.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. One
Yeah,
question, then we
my
got to
actual
move
point
on,
is-
right?
You say that these people, like the DSA folks, aren't a threat. You mentioned liking Josh Shapiro. Like, is there any like concern with you that like it's not just you say these people don't really have an effect, but they do have an effect, right? Like that Adam Smith guy who was on Crystal Ball show, he was getting harassed by DSA leftist activists to the point where they were setting fires in his driveway. Someone tried to burn down Josh Shapiro's house when he was in it over them seeing him as a
That
genocide
was a Trump supporter. That was a Trump supporter.
No, but
with
you
the
should.
Trump family.
I will challenge you to look up. No, I know what you're going to say. He voted for Trump. I will challenge you to look up the reasons that guy said he voted for Trump and
He's
voted for
Israel,
Shapiro.
right? Or for Palestine, right? Did he?
Yeah, he felt
Yeah, that was
that
definitely an
the
anti-Semitic
Democrats were
attack,
supporting
100%.
a Palestine. So, do you think
Yeah.
he was motivated by right-wing talking points or the left
I
talking
mean,
points?
Tucker is one of the biggest anti-Semites on the internet right now. Like Tucker and Candace Owens are probably driving anti-Semitism more than anybody right now. They're the biggest
Was
podcast,
Tucker
and
so
Joe Rogan
actively
too has
talking
Holocaust
about-
deniers.
Was Tucker so actively talking about Israel during the 2024 primary? Or was Tucker boosting Donald Trump, who wasn't talking?
Anti-Semitism is big on both extremes. I mean, it's
You're
not very
dodging the
surprising.
question. We can go. Tucker Carlson was not
Guy
really talking about
himself,
Israel.
from what I know, and from the reports I saw, the guy has tried to get his family to vote for MAGA. That's the only thing I ever saw about this guy. I'll look it up. But didn't his family support MAGA and support Trump?
They don't say how his family voted. They do say
Yeah,
that
I'll
this
look
guy
it
tried
up.
to
I
support to
forget.
get his family to vote
Okay.
for Trump because of the genocide, right?
enough.
So
That's terrible. That's terrible. Yeah.
okay, but you don't see it as
I
a
love
threat.
Joshy. Yeah, it is
Okay.
terrible. Yeah, we hate those people. Yeah. The people
Yeah,
you
but
have to
why
understand
do-
when I'm talking about DSA, I'm saying I want to engage with them so the people in DSA don't fall to idiots that push that radical agenda that had the October 8th rallies. That's what I'm saying. Yes, I hate them. Yes, they're my enemy.
Okay.
Okay,
Wait,
so
do you
what
have a
do
single
about it?
video criticizing anybody for attending an October 8th rally?
I don't cover Israel Palestine unless if people ask me about it. On
All
stream.
right, there's always a reason. Yeah. Perfect.
You
job.
can- you
Well,
can-
thank
Wait,
you,
who-
Andrew.
Perfect job. It's a
who
perfect job. You're
attended
the
that event?
perfect
I don't know
job.
who
You're the
attended that
perfect job.
event. Who attended that event?
So weren't there literally
one.
people that Mamdani endorsed that attended October 8th rallies?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Were there?
Yeah, this is a huge talking point. What do you mean? I don't even cover
Okay,
this stuff.
yeah,
I don't know
I'm
anything about
against her.
primaries, and
I'm-
somehow I
I'm
know this.
very
I don't know.
openly
You-
against her. Yeah, she's one of the big ones.
We didn't
I'm against
ask if you were
Emma.
against her. We asked if you had ever made a video or anything criticizing these things. This is my whole point, is that you could say that you're against these things, but you'll never actually criticize them. And then
I made a video criticizing her. I didn't know about her being at October 8th, but I criticized her and I criticized the DSA, and I used the example of like black working class people in these white districts who have these DSA socialist candidates winning in these districts. So yes, I do have videos criticizing Daria Leza.
nobody's asking if you're criticizing her. I don't even know what that has to do with anything. This is non-responsive.
Because
the question was
because
whether or
it's
not
not
you
like I'm
pointed
not
out the
criticizing
October.
the leftists.
Nobody asked if you were criticizing the leftists. It was if you had anything responsive to the October 8th stuff. And the answer to that is no.
I'll record it right away.
Well,
I
thank
stay away
you
from
for that.
We don't have to
Andrew,
record it, but
thank
just
you.
don't say that you're like trying to
No,
actively
go
push
back
back
to
against like
previous work.
anti-Semitism and blah blah blah. That's not you're not. You don't care about it, right? Which is fine. I understand.
This is not all an internet conversation, though. This is not all. I'm not a huge content creator. I have not.
No one
posted
said it's all the
consistently for
internet
4
conversation,
years.
but it is the DSA's primary talking point. It is the singular uniting unicause of that entire coalition. It was the reason why they didn't support Kamala Harris. No?
Yeah. And the DSA again. That's my goal, is to make sure they don't win out. The young people that are joining their ranks, I do not want them to win. And
He was
I will be
getting
advocating
harassed
against
by-
them heavily. Not like Keith Edwards, not in that way, where I'm going to give defense for them. I don't give defense for them. But yeah, I want to make sure they know that it's not the way to go.
Okay, Mendel, you got a question for the panel? Sir? Ma'am?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what do you got?
Larry David. Come on, Larry.
I had 2 questions. The first one was just, I'm a daily watcher Destiny, and I'm trying to. I just think that I'm just wondering if, and I know most of your community disagrees with me on this. On the content, I agree completely, but I think that sometimes we're a little too personally mean to people like Jolah and Josiah. But that's my opinion. Nothing else. It's just my opinion. It turns me off a little bit because I am a nice guy. My other question though is more to Jolah. I was just going to ask this because Destiny was earlier. He was talking about how people often say, "Oh, I think Trump did X, Y, Z. It's bad," but then they go vote for Trump or they vote for a moderate candidate. Like, as a Jew in America, for me personally, and a lot of my family has been Democrat voters for the last 75 years, all through hundreds of people, or not hundreds of people, dozens of people. And we feel the anti-Semitism from the left extremely heavily. And to me, someone who's endorsed by Hassan Piker and is close to Hassan Piker, it borders on disqualifying. If it wasn't for the importance of the 51st Senate seat, and also I live in Michigan, I'd vote for Abdullah Said only for that reason. But otherwise, I mean, it's a big problem, and I think that some people are discounting this should be disqualifying, and I don't see why it's not disqualifying. All the anti-Semitism is what I mean.
Go ahead, answer the question. There's 2 questions he asked. Why are you so mean to Josiah, and why, and to you, Jolah, why isn't campaigning with a Hassan Piker disqualifying?
For me on the first one, I do agree that we're too mean. I don't like the level of meanness that we're at right now. The reason why I push it and encourage it is because this is where the political fights are happening, and until everybody realizes it, this is where we're going to be stuck. So, like, the fact that Josiah felt like he had to remove me on Twitter because he didn't like the way I was pushing them to cover content, but the fact that he has literally nothing to say about Keith Edwards, like, openly calling me a pedophile, I think demonstrates a lack of character on his part, and it demonstrates the one-way street right now that we're on when it comes to political engagement. So if they've decided that that's where the fight's going to be, and if they've managed to mindfuck every spineless lib left into never calling them out on it, then unfortunately that's like the battlefield that we play on. I don't want to be here. I don't like it. I feel like policy and everything is obviously way more substantive. My highlight fun streams for me are researching SARS-CoV-2 and Israel-Palestine, but right now it's just all about calling each other pedophiles and rapists because that's where people like Hassan have decided that that's where the conversation is going to be, and then they are greenlit by every lib-left person like Jonah, who decides they're not going to call them out, or Jolah, who decides they're not going to call them out on it. So I think that if any of these candidates were to be appearing, for instance, on TV with people like Nick Fuentes, I think that these people would have massive problems with it, and they would immediately say something about it. But I've gotten more death threats from Hassan's community, Hassan and his orbiters themselves, than I ever have from like Nick Fuentes or any of these people. But for some reason, there's the reality is I think it's just because they agree with like way more for these far left types than they actually say. But obviously, there's no way for me to know that directly. But that's my perspective.
And Jolah, his question for you: why isn't campaigning with Hassan Piker disqualifying?
It'll be the same thing about Hassan's support, and if a candidate thinks it's politically beneficial, ideally you would not have that existing, like campaigning with anyone with reprehensible beliefs. But yeah, I would prefer that it was, but the Democratic voters, I need to convince them of that first. And
so
in
1960, so someone was campaigning with David Duke. Would you feel the same way?
All these conversations are like, I think Hutch says this a lot. Hutch often says "F the voters" or whatever, which is not something I would never say that. But sometimes.
Well, most Americans are stupid, and as a math teacher, I can say that definitively. But my point is deeper, and I think maybe you're not answering the question. If Hassan's anti-Semitism is to the level that I'm claiming it is, where my family, a dozen people I know, who are decades of voting Democrat exclusively.
I'm sorry, is someone talking or is he like texting or?
He's talking.
I don't hear him at all.
Never mind. If my comments are not important, it's fine. But my point is simply that the level of anti-Semitism coming from Hassan and his community cannot be discounted and will be a long-term losing issue for Democrats if you don't push back on it. Just look at funding. I'm sorry. Like I personally have come from a family that I know has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Democratic Party. I'm white, I'm privileged, I'm rich, and I'm Jewish. I'm sorry, you can hate me for it all you want, but we're not donating any money right now.
Throw some donos my way, bro. Like that, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Throw some my way. I'll protect you.
I mean, that's all institutional, right? And then
I'll support him.
Just as a quick heads up, and I don't know if Joel will answer this, but most of them just don't think there's really that much anti-Semitism. The vast majority of it is criticism against just Israel and Zionism, and then like maybe like 1% is like actual anti-Semitism. That's where most of these people.
That's what I'm trying to ask about. Like, do you actually believe that Hassan is
do I think is
as
anti-Semitism?
anti-Semitic
So
as
I
he is?
do believe.
Oh, do you just not hold on? Do you just not hear this guy?
No, I don't hear him at all. I can't hear him. I'm trying to watch your live.
Wait.
stream here.
Wait. Can you right-click him and look at user volume? Do you have it turned down for some reason, or maybe you misclicked?
100% user volume, nothing muted. I'm not sure if there's any. He's not blocked.
Well, look. Let me repeat his
Okay,
statement.
yeah, sure.
He's saying that he comes from a long line of Jewish voters that have voted Democrats for 75 plus years, and that Hassan Piker's anti-Semitism is beyond the pale, and it should be disqualifying, and it's going to be a losing issue for Democrats down the road if they don't push back on it. Do you have a disagreement or a comment on that?
I don't disagree. I do think that like Mehdi, Hassan, and Abdul, I think there's definitely resentment with how acceptable it is to be like viciously Islamophobic to even a higher extent than people can be anti-Semitic, like by far in America. Like the tweets from Tommy Tuberville, U.S. Republican senator, saying the enemy is within the gates, posting pictures of 9/11 with Mamdani and Abdul, and then like Ben Shapiro saying Muslim enclaves are infiltrating and infecting Western civilization to take away our Western values. So it's not correct. It's not good. It should not exist. I don't deny that at all. I think that's why like Mehdi and Abdul would have blind spots there, and it's not good. It's resentment. I don't know if it's my place to comment on it. I'd have to talk to some people from that background. But
I would say that on that, if a majority of people felt that, I would never be in a political party with Muslims. I would want them all out of my party. If we're at the level where we give a free pass to people to be anti-Semitic in our party because the right is Islamophobic, that's insane to me. I have no idea why that would ever be. That's just a crazy statement.
Do you think that Mehdi believes Hassan is anti-Semitic and gives him a pass for it, or do you believe he has a blind spot? Like in
I think it's a blind spot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that could cause a blind spot, but I would agree.
I don't think the blind spot is caused by right-wingers being.
What do you think it's caused by? Ideology, or?
Because I think that when you have legitimate criticisms of somebody, and there are plenty of legitimate criticisms you can make about Israel, and when the other party that is being anti-Semitic also masks on and has those same criticisms of Israel, then I think it's easy to miss it, especially when there's a whole moderate left like group of people that are willing to facilitate that opinion laundering. I think that if there were a ton more people like me calling out Hassan on his anti-Semitism, I think that Mehdi's interviews with Hassan would deal way more with anti-Semitism. But because there's a whole line of people willing to say it's just anti-Zionism and stop fighting left and don't focus on these people at all, then it ends up being easy to just hand wave the point away and say, well, I think that like maybe some people are just...
I don't know if I agree with you, Destiny. I think that Mehdi Hassan might be, I suspect, and I don't know for sure, anti-Semitic. And I think that he doesn't see anything actually wrong with the comments that Hassan makes about Jewish
I would have to dig into it more. The only reason why I give Mehdi so much more space than I do for anybody else, because Mehdi was probably the only one of these weirdo lefty people who full-throatedly endorsed Kamala Harris without question. There was no possible world where you could watch Mehdi Hassan and think that he was indifferent between Kamala and Trump, and he's the only person on that political side where I could ever say that more. So I'm willing to give Mehdi a lot of leeway there. Maybe it is possible, but the problem is, I think it would be fair if you were Jewish or if you were more sensitive to the issue of anti-Semitism. I'm really not that much, but if you were more sensitive, I think it would be totally fair to categorize him as being permissive of anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic himself, just because he hasn't ever addressed these things. But this would be a reason why I would say I would very much want Mehdi Hassan to deal with Hassan's comments, and I wish he would like critically confront them, so I would know where Mehdi stands on it. Because maybe it is that Mehdi actually does agree with Hassan's statements, and that would radically change my view of Mehdi. Right now, I just have to leave it as like a open question, I guess.
At what point with him making comments and sweeping for Hassan over and over again, at what point does your mind change on Mehdi? I understand giving him grace because he was full-throated endorsement of Kamala, anti-Trump. That's good, right? But like everything Mehdi Hassan has said regarding Hassan is to run cover for Hassan. Piker, to be clear. To run cover for his comments around not just the Jews, but just everything in general. So
sure, but I feel like everybody in the media, I get the feeling about this about almost fucking everybody. Like even the people that are supposed to hold Hassan to task always have the worst fucking criticisms, and they just play that fucking 9/11 quote over and over and over again. Like I don't want to say the Pod Save guys. I can't, dude. I have the worst Judar ever. Are these guys all Jewish? The Pod Save guys are any of these guys Jewish?
I have no idea if they're Jewish or not.
Where are my Nazis at? Apparently, y'all are Nazis, so you should know. But like, it seems like I don't think that I don't think the Pod. Yeah, I don't think the Pod Save guys are anti-Semitic, but I don't know. They're just like mind fucked in that because they're not mind fucked. This whole permission structure has been created where you can always attack the moderate Dems and never push left. And I think in that world, it's easy to fall into this trap of thinking that like, are they really anti-Semitic? I don't know. I don't think the Pod Save guys are necessarily anti-Semitic, but they just never end up pushing back on these views of Hassan, and then it's just an open question.
Sure, I don't think that you have to personally be anti-Semitic to promote anti-Semitism, though, right? Like
that's true. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm being more charitable. If somebody were to say, I think that anybody that gives Hassan a free pass, I think they're anti-Semitic, I don't think I would fight with that person. Just personally, I'm giving a lot of credit here, but I mean,
fair enough. No, that's fair enough. That's your prerogative. I just for me, seeing Mehdi Hassan's comment, I am leaning towards no. This guy just has a problem with that kind of person, and he seems to run cover for a lot of comments that not just Hassan Piker, but others have made. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be. Okay. We got another caller, Rick. You said you're a socialist.
Indeed, I am.
I hope it's a socialist who disagrees with Destiny, because that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, partially, I disagree. I mostly disagree with the approach that Destiny is calling for. I disagree with the DSA primarily on their stance when it comes to like international issues. I don't like how they don't, take a stand in Russia's imperialism against Ukraine. The main issue I have with Destiny is that I believe his strategy that he's taking is going to backfire heavily. Primarily because when you go ahead and push away the DSA into their corner, they are only going to become more extreme, and they are only going to recruit more people into their I guess, what would you say, party? Whereas if you went ahead and adopted, these people, allowed them to moderate and pass the legislations and policies that you want, that Democrats generally agree to pass, you would be able to basically deal with the fervor that the political, the voters feel right now, the populism. You would get rid of it if you pass like universal healthcare with majorities, and you need the support of not just DSA, but socialists like myself. Like, I am not DSA, but I am a pragmatic socialist. And I do think that your strategy is just going to lead them to be isolated and fall into the hands of Hassan. And one more thing, one of the major issues I had is that you have shown that you are open to El Sayed as a candidate, and it doesn't even seem like you disagree with him much, especially since he is a capitalist and not a socialist. But it does seem like you are allowing El Sayed to basically like, because I would agree that his association with Hassan is terrible. I do not like Hassan. He's an illiberal. But why don't you go ahead and adopt El Sayed on your side? That way you can go ahead and say, look, my support base, my DG, your community's name, they support El Sayed, and he is going to be a capitalist, and he's not a socialist. He supports my policies more than Hassan's, And if he knew Hassan's real takes, he would probably disagree with him more than me. And so why don't you take that strategy of co-opting these politicians? I guess.
Somebody is making an incorrect choice then if it comes to me adopting that strategy, because the strategy that you want me to adopt is the strategy that they want liberals to adopt. So now the question is, are they making a bad calculation? Or are you making the bad calculation? Because they want us to try to, quote unquote, adopt their candidates, and they want us to try to, quote unquote, play nice with them and convert their people. But by the rules that a lot of moderate left content creators and by the rules that the socialist people are laying out, we can never truly challenge them and punch them the same way that they punch us. It's imagine trying to blame the non-committed or unaligned, or I think they call themselves the uncommitted movement, for not electing Kamala. All of those people, Crystal Ball Cognition, all of them will rage at you and scream at you and shout at you and say, oh no, you can't do that. But if you try to blame Kamala or Biden or moderate Dems, that's great. That's approved. So you're asking to enter a structure where the other side can infinitely attack you, and you can never really attack them. But if you play by the rules, somehow you can de-radicalize. You guys, this is the same criticism I was giving of Jolah. You guys keep saying this thing where it's well, can't you de-radicalize them? Can't you pull them to your side? You just say that like it's a thing to do, but then anytime you talk about a tactic that you could use to pull somebody from their side to your side, that is not permitted. You can't do it. Because the only way to pull somebody from their side to your side, you have to criticize their position. Because they're criticizing your position, and you can't just say, oh yeah, well, we have these positions and they're good. You have to be able to show why yours are better than the other side. And that attacking of that other side to show that their structures aren't, or I'm sorry, that their policies aren't as good as ours is not allowed. It's not permitted right now. That's the issue.
Yes. So I will tell you why I think that your strategy will fail, and that is because as a socialist, I would consider myself liberal because I support democratic institutions. If my socialist loses, I will support the liberal and et cetera, et cetera. I want the good ideas to win. The problem here is that the illiberals are counting on you to push them away, because that is what they use in order to argue, hey, do you see, we try to work through the electoral process, but
I completely and totally disagree. I don't think so. I think they rely on us. They rely on us welcoming them in. That's what they want. They don't want us to push them away. That's bad for them. That's why they fight against when people try to push them away.
They like it because the idea is this: is when you push them away, what happens is they get to say, see, we try to work with the institutions are stacked against us. You can't use the institutions in order to move your political goals forward. So these Democrats are going to only answer to the money, to the billionaires, to the Jewish whatever the group is called. They're going to go ahead and use that against you. Instead, you should go ahead and say, hey, if you guys are pushing for healthcare, if you want, higher wages and all this, easy. Democrats, join us. We push for it.
Democrats already do that.
What
though.
happens?
Democrats already push for that stuff.
But that's the thing is that's why I am a bit frustrated with you, because I think that the Democrats are pushing for the correct strategy here, because basically what they're doing is they're saying, hey, you people are voting for these Democrats that are a little more leftist and moderate. Okay, if you guys want these policies, it's because the voters want, you guys want change. So let's deliver that with majorities. And then once we meet those majorities and all that, and we pass these legislations, do you really believe that people are going to become, no, the institutions, they only passed this, but they didn't pass it all the way. They didn't give us single payer, so it's not okay. You think that's
literally
gonna,
what they do now. Yeah, they all hate Barack Obama. They call him a war criminal who should be in The Hague. They hate the ACA. They think it was just a handout to insurance companies. They hate any kind of incrementalism. They all attack the Scott Wiener guy. They attack anybody who's even remotely positioned on Israel, even if you voted against funding for offensive weapons because the Iron Dome is too much. Yeah, they always move it more and more extreme. They're never content ever with any kind of incremental progress. But that's part of the political strategy. They can't be okay with incremental progress because it damages their movement.
But my question to you is, do you believe that these people are just... Okay, one more thing. Then I was going to ask you if you believe these people are fringe or not, but I guess my main question is actually to you, Week, because I highly oppose you and your perspective, because I feel like I live in a red state, and to give you an idea, people really hate Muslims here. one of the funniest things is that our governor tried to pass like this thing where like Bibles are gonna be in every classroom, and so it's so funny to see it because like they think that Sharia law or Mandani getting elected is going to bring in like Sharia law or like all these terrorism and all this here,
Okay.
but then the governor is literally doing that but for like Christianity in the classroom. And it's like, and so my point to you is. I think that it's great that you're standing on principle because I do think that that's honorable. But the problem is that I do feel like you're able to take that stance because you're not being affected by these policies. Because I live in a community where I think like
Sure.
60% of the community has been deported at this
So
point.
it would be
There's
important to minimize the amount of states that Republicans have power in, correct?
yes,
Okay, we agree. We just have a different idea of how to minimize that. I think by sacrificing and not and sitting at home, to be clear, not voting for MAGA, but sitting at home if Hong wins the primary tonight, which it looks like she will. If I was in Wisconsin, I say we should sit it out, and I do not endorse Hong because I think by doing that, I'm going to save 10 elections down the road that if we were to go and back Hong, we would lose.
okay.
So we have
That
the
is a
same
strong
goal.
argument, and I think that if you aim that towards the people who didn't support Kamala, is it Kamala or I forget how to pronounce it, but if you directed that message to the people who didn't vote for her, I agree. But the problem here is that like most socialists, if I can tell you the truth, most socialists I know in real life voted for Kamala because at the end of the day, you vote for the person who's gonna pass, rights for LGBT people or support brown minorities from being deported.
Just really,
So
really
Yeah,
quick, just to explain. I didn't really chime in here yet. That's one reason why I think it's good for and healthy for more left candidates to win, because once it's kind of like when MAGA took power and they yell from the outside really effectively, then they get in power and they're like a dog that caught the car or whatever the analogy is, what they're saying. But like the left, like El Sayed is already saying he'll vote for any improvement in healthcare, like backing off Medicare for all for the general.
Are you sure that that's what happened with MAGA? That MAGA was like the dog who caught the car and they made no changes to the Republican
Trump
Party?
getting in power this time, I think, made Trump the least popular president in American history. Trump was the most popular when he's not in office. Like he's super popular not in office. The same goes here, where people turn on AOC and stuff. And I guarantee you, people are going to turn on El Sayed and then when they have to make pragmatic decisions. And that's when I want to peel people off from like the super crystal ball coalition.
Yeah, I think that we need to stop them from getting the power, because once they get the power or the influence, it's going to be very, very hard to dislodge them, because you'll make the argument like, oh, look, they're not so bad. See, and then people like Mamdani will hold the door open for worse and worse and worse candidates to come on in to promise they're going to endorse the incumbent, but then fail to do that and go back on their promise and endorse the challenger instead because they align with them. I just think it's an op. And I think that you are just discounting the things that they are saying and doing. Like
I get that, but then you look at like Crystal Ball. Like Crystal Ball hates Ukrainians. Like Crystal Ball wants a nuclear bomb dropped in Ukraine as soon as possible.
Yes,
and
she does.
Abdul El Sayed taking a very pro-Ukraine stance, I think is going to break their brains a little bit, and that's one point I can use to divide them a little bit. And I take your point, but I think I want to find those flashpoints where I can.
Okay. Well, Rick,
can I ask you one question?
We have a limited amount of time.
It's just real quick. It's really quick.
Is it going to be quick?
Yes. Basically, no, never mind.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
It's not going to be quick. Okay, we have time for probably one more caller. Hello, you're live.
What's going on, y'all? Hey, so I wanted to ask a two-part question here. So first to Jolah. Why must we contrast or qualify every criticism of the far left, but no contrast or qualifications needed to criticize, let's say, liberals or the moderate left? And secondly, can you name how many people you've swayed over to your side from the far left and how you managed to do so?
I think the conversation we're having is based around the far left. If you want to have a conversation, I mean, you can call in later about the opposite way. We could definitely have the conversation about the center of the party, and there are many qualifications and changes we need to make there as well. And the way I measure it, like I said, the analytics will be tough. I think we could judge based off of AOC's actions. If AOC continues on her path of being a very faithful Democratic supporter of Democrats electorally, she stood up for Kamala, stood up for Joe Biden, so did Bernie Sanders. I think they are the guiding principle. I would want the Democratic left to follow their lead if I can direct people in that direction. But yeah, it's going to be very hard to give you like analytics or anything or anything quantitative.
So I'm going to try to keep this short and simple. When you're saying you want to, if I'm understanding you correctly, are you saying that you want us to be more moved over to their side? That doesn't sound like you wanted to move over to a more liberal side. That sounds like you want the party to move over to a more progressive side.
So when you have pluralism in a society, okay, sometimes you need representation for people you don't like, and that's why one reason why like Joe Biden said we need a good Republican Party, because we need a responsible Republican Party that's not going to try to destroy the entire country if they do get power. The same thing goes for the left. If they do get power, then I want it to be a responsible form like AOC or Bernie to not destroy the country. So it's a very basic pluralist belief.
This feels like you're almost saying then that liberals would somehow destroy the country then. You're not saying it, but
ask me about liberals. You're asking me about the far left. If you ask me about the far left, I have different like qualifications for them, and they have a lot more proven bona fides of being safe to support our Constitution. So there's less concerns there. This conversation is about the DSA. Of course, it's going to be focused on the far left.
So you're saying you're less concerned about the far left than you are about the liberal side then?
I have concerns all across the board. Okay, I have concerns with ineffective liberals. I think that there should be some changes with the DNC, with Chuck Schumer, with a candidate, recruitment. I think there's some 80, 90-year-olds, including, you could even include progressives like Bernie Sanders from the left, by the way, and Murky. But like, yeah, I have criticism. This conversation is about the left. If we have, and like I said, if you want to call in and have a long conversation, I know Wick is almost done here, about the other side of the party, then yeah, we can have that conversation too. I do that as well.
That's fair. And then I'll ask Destiny as a point here. One of the big issues right now is obviously what do liberals do in the midterms? What actions do you suggest that liberals take in the midterms, and how we can reconcile the fact that more than likely those on the far left will not actually side with, we can probably look at what happened in 2024. So it's difficult as far as a liberal goes of like, okay, I'm going to have no choice but to vote for this particular candidate, knowing that the far left may not necessarily back that. It's kind of a difficult thing to reconcile. Like, what do you suggest that liberals do?
What do you mean? Like more, how do they can you be more specific, or what do you mean?
Yeah, like, so for example, like El Said, what do you suggest that liberals do in that particular election? Like, what would you recommend they do? Do you think they should vote for El Said? Do you think they should campaign or vote for El Said and not campaign and door knock? Like, how do you think that should look?
I don't know. It's a really hard question. Same thing with Hong. I mean, the problem is that the long-term political game is so unclear right now for moderate libs that to say you should just vote for Hong in Wisconsin, you should vote for El Sayed, when these people could further facilitate like the erosion or destruction, I guess, of the liberal center of the Democratic Party. Like, in my mind, that's a rough sell to me for supporting them. But then on the flip side, right, if I'm asking somebody or telling somebody like, well, I don't think I would vote for Francesca Hong, I don't think I would vote for El Sayed, and it ends up being the Senate vote that matters for another Supreme Court pick or another, cabinet member appointment, or it ends up being that in Wisconsin things are now fucked on the voting things because the new governor decides to be more complicit with Trump election meddling in the actual 2028 election. I mean, that's like a very real, like, the harms that I'm worried about are a bit harder to, they're a bit less material than the harms of the Republican people right now. So like voting for somebody like El Sayed, voting for Hong against the Republicans, that's like a very clear present danger that is like very clearly and obviously needed to be opposed. And then the harms that I'm talking about are a little bit more immaterial and harder to conceptualize, but I think they're very real, and I think that they run the risk of being much more significant in the long term. So I don't know. I don't think I would judge somebody either way for if you voted for or not. If you voted for El Sayed or you didn't vote for him, or if you voted for Hong or you didn't vote for her, like, I don't think I would have strong criticism one way or another, I guess.
Yeah, no, that answers my questions. So appreciate it. Thank you for your time, y'all.
Oh man, I appreciate you. Okay. Last thoughts from either of you, and then I'm going to kick you guys both out and talk to my audience for a moment. and then we're going to end the show. Just to let you guys know what's coming up tomorrow, we got a 2v2 between Tashika and Hunter Dunn, who's been on Jubilee a lot, okay, and Tashika's blowing up, versus Dr. Rippy and Streamrift on which party is better for minorities. It should be fun. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking to Sid about the Mitch voter situation, and then Magdi Jacobs at 8 o'clock about the harassment that she has received from El Said supporters and Hassan Inc. So those two conversations should be fun. Tune in for those on Thursday. Okay, we're going to give the first word to Destiny and the last word to Jolah. Go ahead, Destiny. Last thoughts.
I mean, I don't really know what to say. I feel like I got my points out pretty well. I still feel like there's an inability to push back against the far left. I feel like there's a lot of excuses made for why it's never the right time or the right way to do it. And I just wish that there was more energy for some of these more like overtly subversive elements in our political party. Then it seems like there's just no pushback against it. It bothers the fuck out of me.
Fair enough. Jolah, final thoughts.
The wave we're experiencing right now is inevitable. I'm doing my best to keep everybody on the same ship as we try to endure, and hopefully we can build back our country from the depth of Trump's asshole. But yeah, appreciate the conversation. Final DSA. This is the final conversation on it. I know Francesca is going to be our new dictator in Wisconsin, so we no longer need to talk about DSA debates. It's all general election from now on. Sure thing.
Okay. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming. I'm going to see you out. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.